This episode changed my perspective on money. I'm an investor. I've been investing for the last 6-7 years at different levels. Big companies, small companies, the S&P 500, funds, you name it. But Ramit changed my mind. He changed my mind on money, spending, investing, and he changed my mind on something that I think 95% of you that are listening to this podcast and that are about to listen to this need to have your mind changed on too. That if you have the right philosophy towards money, the right perspective and mindset towards money, then there is a path to living our rich life, to becoming rich, that enough people are not talking about. He debunks the myths of money, the limiting beliefs about money, and he confronts all of the unhelpful advice about money that stands in the way of you becoming rich. There's an app on my phone that I now have installed because of this conversation. And there are 3 big investments that I've now made in my life because of this conversation. And there is one key idea that I now believe will make me 10 times more wealthy over the next 3 decades because of this conversation. You're gonna love it. Enjoy. Ramit, someone's just clicked on this podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, and they saw the title, they saw the thumbnail, they thought that sounds interesting. Tell me why you think they should stay and listen to what we're going to talk about today, what they stand to gain if they give us their time.
Whenever someone hears someone talking about money, they get rigid. They instantly think that someone's going to come in and tell them, you can't spend money on lattes, you can't go on vacation, you can't buy any new clothes, save all your money until you're 90 years old, and maybe, just maybe, then you can spend it. And I don't believe in any of that. I think you should spend extravagantly on the things you love as long as you cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. I think you should live a rich life today and an even richer life tomorrow. And so when you combine money and psychology, you start to understand that there is more to a rich life than just some number in a spreadsheet. People already know they should be saving more. They know about compound interest. They may not know the intricacies, but they understand if they invest some now, they're going to have more later. So what's stopping them? That's been the central question that I'm fascinated with for the last 20 years. That's why when I studied human behavior and persuasion and psychology, I was obsessed with this question of what are the things we know we should do, but we still don't. You can live a rich life regardless of where you came from. You can live a rich life regardless of your income. Now, of course, having a higher income dramatically helps. But just like fitness, we can all improve where we are. And that's what we get to talk about today.
When you talk about the language of money, what do you mean?
I mean, understanding the nuts and bolts of money. So just the same way that we all learn how to drive. We learn the rules of the road, when to use our turn signals. Most of us do not have even the equivalent knowledge of money. For example, the basic language of money would be, what percentage of your income are you saving and why? What percentage are you investing and why? When will you have $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million? And what will that money get you? Because just having $1 million in the bank is pointless. What does it get you specifically? This is the basic language of money. You've got to know your key 4-6 numbers in your life. Not many, just a few. But once you understand those numbers, it's like understanding the speed limit. Understanding the speed limit means you understand a lot. There's a rule of the road. If you go too fast, what's going to happen? Why do these rules exist? And these rules are similar in money. You can break them. That's okay, but you got to understand the rules first.
What are those numbers that I need to know?
There's 4 numbers that I really like to track. I track these myself, and these are the numbers I encourage The first is your fixed costs.
Okay.
Those would be your rent or your mortgage, your any debt payments, groceries, the money that you are spending every single month that is essentially fixed. And the number I recommend for that is 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. So that would be if you're spending 50 to 60% of what you make, what you take home on your rent, your groceries, any debt payments, your car, you're in good shape. Okay. The next one is your savings. That would be roughly 5 to 10%. Savings would be things like an emergency fund, savings for a down payment for a car, things like that. Third is investments. This is where the real wealth is created. And for this, 5 to 10% of take home is fine. Of course, the more you put in, the more you're going to have. And then the fourth category, the one I love the most, is called guilt-free spending. This is going out for cocktails in New York. It's buying a beautiful shirt. It's treating your friends, whatever you love, yoga, 20 to 35% of your take-home pay. So if you're watching or you're listening to this, just take 15 minutes. Back of the napkin, jot down your approximate numbers. You don't even have to get them perfect. And you will be able to benchmark how you are spending compared to those numbers. I'll tell you that those numbers tell me a lot. It's almost, if you just show me those 4 numbers of your spending, I can tell so much. I can tell what you love spending on. I can tell what you don't. I can tell what your priorities are. And I can also tell where you are out of alignment. So I'll give you an example. When I ask people, what is your rich life? One of the common answers they say is, I want to do what I want, when I want. I go, oh God, not this answer again. I hear it every day. I go, wow, that's so interesting. So what do you want? They go, most people have never thought beyond a trite answer. So then the next answer I often get is freedom. I want freedom. I go, great, that sounds good. What is freedom? I want to do what I want, when I want. I look at their numbers and I see a huge payment that they're making to a 30-year mortgage. I see debt payments. I see car payments. And I go, now this is interesting. You want freedom, but you have essentially anchored yourself down to not be able to travel or to pivot or to move. How can those two be? How can you reconcile those two? And that dissonance is actually a fascinating moment. I love when we experience dissonance. We all do. I say that I want to work out more, but I don't work out more. Why? And what you'll discover is people often, they simply have never thought about it. What our rich life is, these generic phrases, freedom, flexibility, it's just words. What I really want somebody to say, I want them to go a lot deeper, is to say, I want to be able to travel for 6 weeks a year. I want to go to London. I want to go to New Delhi. I want to go to Thailand because I want to visit my family. That's a good start. If we get even more specific, they tell me what seat on the airline they're sitting on. They tell me where they're eating. They tell me who they're bringing with them. But to simply say, I want freedom, is so vague that when I look at your numbers, there's often a huge incongruity with how you're spending versus what you claim your rich life is.
How many people, from your experience of interviewing people and doing this research, are clear on what their rich life looks like, down to, you know, what you described there, I want to travel for a couple of months a year, and then even further down to which seat I'm going to be in, which class I'm going to be on as I travel?
Less than 1%.
Less than 1% of people know that?
No. Most people literally say, I want to do what I want, when I want. That is the extent to which they've thought about a rich life.
Why does it matter to be, what did that less than 1% of people that have that planned out have as an advantage or a benefit from that meticulous thought that the other 99% don't have?
Because they can craft their rich life that is uniquely theirs, almost like getting a handmade glove. And in fact, the more you craft your rich life, the more bewildering it looks to the outside world. So I'll give you an example from my own life. I love to travel. I spend a lot of money when my wife and I, we'll travel for months at a time. I love hotels. I love the hospitality. I love the details. I love it all. I don't really care about cars. Not at this phase of my life. It's just not that important to me. So when I talk about my money dials or the things that I love to spend money on, I might spend a crazy amount on a hotel per night just because I love it. But I drive a car that's almost 20 years old. It's just not important to me. And I want that. I want to hear in your life what you spend extravagantly on, but then you cut costs mercilessly on, because I want that duality, which indicates you are intentional about your rich life.
What if we're buying things to impress other people and we don't? Because it's hard to, looking in from the outside especially, it's hard to know if someone actually likes Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
Or if they're buying Lamborghinis because they were beat up when they were 9 years old on the playground and they're trying to overcompensate and make the world. And does it matter why they're buying it?
Does it matter? I don't know. First of all, how would we even know? How would they know?
Is there a difference, do you think, just in your opinion, on the impact that that purchase has on us, whether we're doing it intrinsically or we're doing it extrinsically? Because I reflect on some of the things that I spent money on and I go, that was for someone else. Whereas there's other things I spend money on, which are maybe health related or travel related, like convenience, flying in a nice class on a plane, which I go, no, that's actually adding a lot of benefit to my life. Whereas that mansion I bought out in the countryside when I was 23 or whatever was a terrible decision. It took me away from my friends because it was an hour and a half outside of the city.
Yeah.
And none of my friends ever came to it. So I was just arriving at midnight after work in this fucking mansion with this tennis court by myself, sleeping for 3 hours and then driving another hour and a half back to the city where all my friends and work were. I go, that was a stupid fucking decision based on extrinsic, external, motivations.
It's a great question. And, particularly in America, we love this idea of ownership. We are taught you've got to own. Owning a house is the best investment. It means you are successful. And if you're renting, no one really says this, but what they deep down say is you're a loser.
Yeah.
Okay. This individualistic strain really runs deep. And it has led a lot of people to make poor financial decisions. First of all, you might be surprised to hear my view is that owning can be a good financial decision, but it also can be a very bad financial decision. In fact, I rent by choice. And living in New York, for example, I lived here for a long time. I knew that if I were to buy, I would be losing thousands of dollars every single month because it actually cost more than twice as much to own than to rent. But can you imagine the type of pressures even I got from people who would come over and say, oh, so do you own this place? The place that I was renting. I said, no, I rent. And there was this visible moment of confusion. They're shaking my hand. They know that I'm the I will teach you to be rich guy, but I rent. How can you be teaching money, but you rent? Isn't renting for losers? And I have to say, because I was rock solid confident in my decision, that pressure did not affect me. But I want to also say that a lot of us buy things based on status. Like the idea that we don't buy things based on what people around us think is nonsense. We buy things based on status. To deny it is absurd. But I do think that for the big purchases in your life, like a house, a car, the big things, you've got to run the numbers. And if you decide, hey, you know what? I want to buy a house, even though it's going to cost me an extra $600,000 in opportunity costs and phantom costs, but I'm going to do it because I like it or it makes me feel good. I say, God bless. But if you simply make decisions based on what other people around you do, then you will discover, like you did, I thought I was going to feel a certain way, and I don't really feel that way. And that, for me, is an opportunity for you to interrogate your own beliefs.
And money is like a personal zero-sum game, right? Like, so I can't just spend indefinitely. So buying that ridiculous house out in the countryside takes away from something which might have genuinely brought me closer to happiness, like, I don't know, going away with my family or whatever it might have been. You talked there about buying property. I find that really curious because the popular narrative is, for most people, the minute they get any decent amount of money is to buy your first house. And that's what people do. They take a 10% deposit or a 20% deposit, whatever it might be, and they buy a house. Why is that a poor investment? Why is that a bad thing to do? Because that does kind of sit counter to the popular narrative.
Well, we have to remember, first of all, where the popular narrative came from. In America, if you ask people what is the American dream,
Yeah.
the answer is inextricably tied up with a single family home with a white picket fence. That's not an accident. That is the result of decades of messaging. Some might call it propaganda. First of all, most people in the world do not live in single family homes like we do in America. That has caused a lot of issues. But to leave that part aside, this is how most people think about buying a house. They think grandma bought a house in Austin, Texas in 1970 for $100,000. Grandma just sold it 50 years later for $1 million. Grandma made $900,000. They go, it's the most profitable thing you could do, buy a house. I go, okay, that sounds really nice. Did Granny factor in how much she spent on maintenance for the past 50 years? No. Did Granny factor in inflation and how that affected her return? No. What's inflation? Did Granny factor in the opportunity costs of what that down payment could have been used if invested in the S&P 500? No. And did Granny look at all these phantom costs such as interest on the loan? No. It's not simply the bigger number minus the smaller number. That's wrong. That is simplistic. For the biggest purchase of your life, you've got to go deeper. Again, when I was living here, I kept a very close eye on real estate. And the place right next to me, same square footage, same number of bedrooms, same everything, it would have cost 2.2 times what I was paying in rent. So just to give you an example, if I was paying $3,000 a month, it would have cost about $6,400 a month to own. Okay. I said, you know what? I like renting. If I have a problem, I just text my landlord. I took the $3,400 I would have spent owning when factoring in phantom costs, maintenance, interest, taxes, all that, and I simply invested it. And I made more money doing that than I would have owning.
What about if you're buying somewhere for the rental income?
That can work. That can work. So owning real estate as an investment can be part of a well-diversified portfolio if you run the numbers. Right now, there's a lot of hype. People go, I'm going to buy a house, and if I don't like it or whatever, I'm just going to rent it out. Okay, fine. But you've got to remember that if your mortgage is $1,000, that's not just the amount you're paying. There's a lot more. In fact, in my estimations, I add 50% to that price. So $1,500 a month, which would include a roof repair happening 19 years from now. We've got to amortize that out. Labor costs, interest, all that. If you can rent it out and make a profit, fantastic. It cash flows, that's awesome. What you discover is that most people who buy a primary residence, the place they want to live in, they buy it because they want it, and then they tell themselves it's an investment. Buying a house can be an investment, but oftentimes it's not. And there are far better, far simpler investments. Here's my key message. I want to make sure nobody misunderstands me. I've been accused of saying buying a house is bad. No, I never said that. In fact, I will buy a house myself one day. And when I do, it's going to be a terrible financial decision, and I'm going to do it anyway. My key message is for the biggest purchase of your life, you've got to run the numbers. Sometimes buying can be a good financial decision. Often renting can be a good financial decision. Run the numbers and never feel guilty for renting.
As it relates to buying a house, I've always been hesitant because I'm scared really of the point you mentioned about being anchored to a location. So the way that I've kind of justified that away is by saying, well, I'll just Airbnb it when I'm not there, or I'll rent it out if I decide to move to New York or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is there a cost in the opportunity of being less flexible about where you can be that people don't think about, especially when they're younger?
Yes.
And they're probably a little bit unencumbered by, life at that point.
Yes. Buying a house is one of the most profound financial decisions that will affect your lifestyle ever. You can sell a car, even at a minor loss, but selling a house involves massive transaction costs and labor that most people don't anticipate. One of the reasons that I rent is for lifestyle reasons. Financial, yes, I make more money renting and investing the difference than I would owning, but also lifestyle. I don't know that I'm going to be in the same place for 10 years, which is one of the key things that I would encourage people to decide before they buy. You want to know that you're going to be there for at least 10 years, because then you can spread all those transaction costs, spread them out over 10 years. They become much more affordable. It's kind of like buying an expensive jacket. If you buy it and you wear it once, that's really expensive. If you buy it and wear it over 10 years, it becomes a lot more affordable. Now take that, multiply it by 1,000, and that's a house. Particularly for young people, I don't give a lot of unsolicited advice. I used to do it when I was young, when I just learned about money, and I realized nobody really wants to hear it. They really don't. If somebody comes to me, they come to my blog, my social media, great. Otherwise, I'm not going around telling people you should do this. Once in a while, though, I get a young person asking me, I'm just about to graduate from college. What advice do you have for me? And at that moment, the best piece of advice that I have is move where the action is. And typically that's a big city. So that would be where there's more jobs, where there's simply more people if you're looking for relationships. And there's a lot of tacit knowledge that happens in big cities. Like, oh, have you tried this? Oh, what have you seen that musical? Have you tried this thing, this idea that's going around? So often surrounding yourself geographically can be hugely rewarding to you as you grow. You can't do that if you bought a house because everybody told you that it was going to be the best investment. And if I were to say, show me where you calculated the numbers that it was going to be a great investment, 75+% of people have never created a simple spreadsheet.
How does buying a house compare in terms of returns to something like investing in the S&P 500?
It's quite poor, actually.
Really?
Yeah, over about 100 years, there's great research showing that it has essentially matched inflation. It's been slightly above inflation. People find this mind-boggling. Again, because they think somebody bought a house for 100K and they sold it for $1 million, so it's 900K. But they don't properly factor in inflation, opportunity costs, phantom costs, all that. It's really hard to factor these numbers in, but it's critical because it's the biggest purchase of your life. I'll give you another example of where people don't properly factor it in. Some people pay a financial advisor 1%. They go 1%. It's not a big deal. I'll pay 1%. What they don't realize is that 1% over the course of their lifetime will take 28% of their returns and hand them over in fees. Think about it. If you make $1 million in investing over the course of your life, $280,000 are going right out of your pocket into that advisor's pocket. Now that's super counterintuitive. 1% turns into 28%. How does it work? You can simply go online and search for investment cost calculator and plug in the numbers, add a 1% fee, and you will see. The point of this is that sometimes money is highly counterintuitive. Really counterintuitive. It's unlike anything else. If you and I go to sushi right now and we get sushi for $20, it'll be fine. If we get it for $100, what do you think? It'd probably be a little better, right? Yeah. And if we get it for $1,000, the fish will have been flown in from Tokyo this morning and it will be served in an absolutely stunning setting. So in other words, you pay more, you get better results. We're used to that. If I spend more on a sweater, it's probably going to have a different type of fabric. More on a car, it's going to look cooler, have cooler features. Money's not like that. If you spend more, you don't get better returns. You don't get better anything. In fact, if anything, you get worse returns. People find this mind-boggling because it's counterintuitive. But in investing, costs matter. In buying a house, you've got to run the numbers because they are totally counterintuitive.
Quick one before we get back to this episode. Just give me 30 seconds of your time. Two things I wanted to say. The first thing is a huge thank you for listening and tuning into the show week after week. It means the world to all of us. And this really is a dream that we absolutely never had and couldn't have imagined getting to this place. But secondly, it's a dream where we feel like we're only just getting started. And if you enjoy what we do here, please join the 24% of people who watch this channel regularly and have hit that subscribe button. It means more than I can say. And if you hit that subscribe button, here's a promise I'm going to make to you. I'm going to do everything in my power to make this show as good as I can now and into the future. We're going to deliver the guests that you want me to speak to, and we're going to continue to keep doing all of the things you love about this show. Thank you. Thank you so much. Back to the episode. So what is the S&P 500 for anybody that doesn't know?
Yeah.
And what are the returns that I'm likely to get from investing in the S&P 500? I really want to simplify this for people that are at the very start of their investing journey.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, this is what you spend so much of your time doing, that I just think about my team here. It's at the Diary of a CEO. There's about 30 people. And we started talking about money one day. And it was mind-blowing how nobody in my team's lives had ever had the conversation with them about investing. Yeah. We all think of investing as something that rich people after the age of 40 do once you have $1 million. Or if you don't have $1 million, then the only other way to invest, we're taught, is to buy a house.
This is driving me insane.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yes, and that's the central part of my work, is that you can live a rich life, and that rich life can be richer and more vibrant and more personal than you ever imagined. If you want to travel, you can travel for longer than you ever thought. You can travel, for me, at nicer hotels. You can spend more time with your children, with your loved ones. Whatever your rich life is, you can do that. But you've got to learn a few key basic things about investing and money. So let me tell you what I would tell my family when they come to me. They go, how should I start investing? The simplest way that I advise my family is I say, get a target date fund. So let me explain what that is. A target date fund is one fund, just one, and you pick it based on the year that you're going to retire. So if you're going to retire in 2050, if you're going to be 65 in 2050, you go and you find that one fund. It's called a Vanguard 2065 fund, or Fidelity 2065, or Schwab 2065. There's lots of brokers. These funds, it's one fund. All you do is put money into it. That's it. The fund, like a pie chart, is automatically diversified. So as you get older, it gets more conservative, because somebody who's 75 years old should be investing differently than someone who's 25. One fund. All you have to do is set your money up to go into it every single month.
What is a fund?
A fund is a set or a basket of stocks and maybe bonds. So we've all heard of, companies like Microsoft, Google, whatever. A fund owns lots of these, right? And that's important because we've heard diversification, like you should have diversified your investments. Okay, well, how do I do that? You don't need to go and buy 20 stocks and then figure out how much of each to do. That's too much work. And honestly, most people are not good at that, even professionals. You buy a fund which automatically owns lots of stocks, like hundreds of them. And over time, all you, the individual investor like me, have to focus on is putting money into it automatically.
So a fund, essentially, I've got £100 that I want to invest. Yep. I find a fund. Where do I find these funds?
You can go to Vanguard, Schwab, or Fidelity. All those are great companies. What you're looking for, regardless of what country you're in, is you're looking for a low-cost brokerage firm.
So, but there's also apps and stuff that I can
use apps. I don't like a lot of the apps because they gamify you to try to invest.
Right.
They want you clicking and trading. I hate traders. You do not want to be a trader. Traders lose money. Investors treat investing like watching paint dry. That's how sexy it is. Trust me, I'm not getting my entertainment from investing. I'm going out, go watch a movie, go watch Netflix. But investing is boring and automatic. That's how it should be.
I used a company called Hargreave Lansdown in the UK who have an app when I first started investing. When I first started investing in funds, they had a very ugly app, so I wasn't very compelled to use it. I think it's better now, but I would just do it on desktop, which I do get your point, because you don't want to be you don't want to screen all of that notifications.
I like ugly. It should be ugly.
And you don't want it to be too accessible.
Correct.
I don't want to be able to check it every day.
No, look, on my phone, you will see no investing apps.
Yeah, smart.
There should not be.
Yeah.
Why do you need to log in and check it every day? What's the point?
Yeah.
In fact, most people should check it every 3 to 6 months. And here's how you check it. You log in on your desktop. Wow, it's up. Wow, it's down. Okay, bye. You're not tweaking anything. It's like making Thanksgiving dinner. Once you've put the turkey in the oven, just let it sit. Do not fiddle with it, because you're only going to mess it up. And in this case, you're letting the turkey cook for decades.
And that fund, so I've got £100. I go on a website.
Yep,
or whatever.
Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever they are. I have no alliance to any of them.
Neither do I. There's various ones in the UK. I actually do recommend Hargreaves Lansdown just because it's quite simple, and I think investing in funds, there's no fees. There's no fee associated with the investment itself. Obviously, they might take a percentage depending on which fund you're investing in. I take my £100, and in investing in Hargreaves Lansdown, you don't need. There's no minimum.
Great,
from what I understand, and there's no. If you invest in a stock, they charge £12 per investment, but if you invest in a fund, it's free. I put my £100 into a fund. The fund is essentially taking £1, one of those pounds, and investing £1 into Facebook. It's investing £1 into Google, £1 into Shopify, £1 into Spotify, £1 into Nvidia or whatever. It's doing that for me. It's managing it for me. It's making the decisions for me. I just put the money in every month, whatever I can, and I leave it.
Yeah. And let's go even deeper. I love that we're getting into the nuts and bolts here because, honestly, most people, they do not know how to invest. Literally, what website do I go to and then what do I do? The fund owns these different stocks and some will go up and some will go down and it's inconsequential to you. All you need to know is you own this fund. Now that you've opened up an account and you've sent $100 or $1,000, great. You've made one of the most important decisions of your life. Now, there's just one more thing you have to do. Set up an automatic transfer so that every single month you have a certain amount of money going in. Now, if you don't know how much money, use my conscious spending plan guideline. What did I say? 5 to 10% of take home is a good guideline. All right. You should be able to do 5%. Trust me. Anyone who comes to me, they go, Ramit, there's no way. Must be nice. I can't afford. I go, show me where you're spending your money. I guarantee you I can find 5% to send in every month. Now, you're not trying to send it in. I don't try to brush my teeth in the morning. It's a habit. Investing is even easier than brushing your teeth because you set it up automatically. The investment fund will automatically draw from your checking account. And it will pull in $100, $500, $1,000, whatever your number is. And so you're not going to log in for 3, 4, 5 months. You're going to log in a few months later. You're going to be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that all this money is in here. When you add that plus compounding over many years, that is how real wealth is created. So I don't want anyone to think that you have to be rich in order to start investing. One of the ways you get rich is by investing.
I've got a friend that's currently actually in this building at the moment, and I had this conversation with them about a year ago, gave the advice that you've just given there. And about 2 months later, this individual, who I shan't name, came to me and I said, how's your investments going in that fund? And they said, oh yeah, I had bills. I had a credit card bill, so I took it out.
Oh yeah, she treated it like a checking account. Investments for me are places to accumulate wealth. I don't draw from it. That's what a checking account is for. So what that is there's two parts to what your friend is saying. One is mentally, she's thinking that this investment account is just money I can draw from if I need it. So I would sort of gently change the way she thinks about it. The second is I guarantee her account structure is a little subpar. So here's how I would set it up. This is in chapter 5. It's all automation because trust me, I don't want to spend time transferring money back and forth. I don't spend any time on that. You get paid, your money goes into your checking account. From your checking account, it is automatically transferred to a savings account. In fact, I have sub-savings accounts for vacation, car, down payment, all that stuff. So you have money set up for specific goals. Money is transferred to your investment account. It's transferred there. I'm not going to touch that money. I'm going to let it cook. And then I have my guilt-free spending, which is going out with friends, whatever I love. And my credit card bill is automatically paid off every single month. That's how you want to set it up. It takes a couple of weeks to set everything up, and then you never have to think about it again.
How can you prove to me that this is the way to make wealth? What case studies have you got that investing in funds over a long period of time is the path to financial wealth? Because, you said earlier about the paint drying thing. The narrative that we see about how people get rich is, they sell a company or they have a lottery win, or maybe they buy some cryptocurrency and it goes up.
Yeah.
That's what we hear.
That's
so that's
what we
what we
hear.
try and emulate.
Totally.
Prove to me that this fund strategy is better.
Well, there's a couple things. First off, the research over more than about 100 years shows the returns of the stock market. And the returns tend to be, at least in America, they tend to be around 11%, 10 to 11%. And if you take out inflation, you get about 7 to 8% per year. Now, for anyone listening, they go, okay, well, what does that mean? That number means nothing to me, 7%, whatever. If you go right now and you Google investment calculator and you just plug in your age, you plug in, let's say, $200, $300 a month, and you plug in 7% return, and you just watch how that money grows, you will be shocked.
Jack, get me my phone. I'm going to do it now.
Okay, so let's search for compound interest calculator. And there's a really simple one. It's called Money Chimp.
Okay, I've got it.
All right. All right, so there's 4 numbers we need to fill out here. Let's take a look. The first is current principal. That means how much you've got in the bank.
I'm going to say $5,000, and I'm going to start when I was 16. Because if I'd saved my money when I was 16 and not spent it recklessly, I think I could have had that $5,000 when I was 16. Annual addition, what does that mean?
How much can you invest per year? So for most people, they think about on a monthly basis. They might say $200 a month, which would be $2,400 annual addition.
Okay, so
what do you want to say?
I'm going to say, can I say $5,000?
Yeah, that's, about $400 a month. I think that's reasonable. I often find that with people making median or slightly above median salary, that there are hundreds of dollars a month of money that is unaccounted for, that if properly made intentional, could be invested. So great, $5,000 a year. All right.
Obviously, I could have, once I got past a certain age, I could have increased that though. So
we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Hold on to that idea.
Okay.
How many years? This was you at 20?
This was me at 16.
Oh, okay. And how old are you today?
30.
Okay. So 14 years. Let's just do it until today and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
14 years.
And then it says interest rate. So what should we assume for that?
Is that 8%?
Yeah, 7 to 8. I do 7 just to be super conservative because I never want to be surprised on the downside.
Right.
If anything, I'm going to make more. So 7%. All right, let's calculate it. Okay. What do you see?
Damn.
What do you see?
$133,000, 537.
Yeah, that's what you would have had right now. Now let's add some context. So this is really important. You see a number that says $133,000 at age 30.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a lot? Is that not? I don't know. Let's break it down. At that point, you started with $5,000 and you invested $5,000 per year. We assumed no raises, even though you obviously made more than you made at age 16. We assumed you stopped investing at age 30, which is obviously ridiculous. And you end up with 6 figures. Let's play it out. Let's take it until 40. So instead of 14 years, you invested for 24 years. What do you see?
I would have $336,000.
It's getting better.
From just $5,000 a year.
It's not much.
It's fantastic.
Again, $400 or so a month is very modest. Remember, people's income goes up typically in their 30s and 40s. And if you already are investing a little bit automatically, all you have to do is just tweak a number and it will take an extra couple hundred, $300, $400, $500. Let's do one more. Let's go to 34 years just because I want to see what happens. And then we're going to play with the other numbers.
Okay. So investing from the age of 16 until I'm 50, I would have $736,000 in my account.
Yeah. Now I want to do the full thing. I want to do a more realistic number here. So instead of 50, we're going to go 49 years. That takes you to age 65.
Yeah.
Okay. And instead of $5,000 per year, your income obviously went up from being 16 years old. So I'm going to pick a number out of thin air, and I'm going to tell you how I picked it. I'm going to say instead of $5,000 a year, it's actually going to be $30,000 per year. Let me tell you why I picked that. In your early years, you don't have as much money, but you were still investing a little bit, which shows that you're dedicated. As your income goes up, you're going to start proportionally continuing to invest. So at a certain point, your income will be really high, and that will bring that average up. That's why I switched it to $30,000 per year. I actually think this is quite modest, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. So here we have someone starting investing at $5,000. They invest $30,000 per year. Okay. They grow it for 49 years at 7%. Do you know the math?
No, tell me.
$12,303,000.
So that's me starting with 5K, gradually ratcheting it up until I'm investing 30K a year per average across those 49 years.
Yes, which is a flaw in this because it's so simple.
Yeah.
That money invested, you're not actually going to invest that much early on. You'll invest more later.
Yeah.
So you'll maybe have a marginal amount less, but we're talking 10 versus 12 million. That's a lot of money.
And then if I got 8% instead of the 7%, I'd have 17.4 million.
Yeah, but don't mess with that. Because this
that's
is
the
what people
hardest
do. They go, well, if I got 13%, I'm going to invest in this PE fund. I go, don't do that. You're going to lose all your money. Just stop.
Yeah.
7% is safe. It's conservative. That's why I am here. That's why I want to encourage people. You don't need to juice your returns. I hope you do get 8%, but I don't want you to count on that. I want you to count on safe, stable returns. And what matters for you is the time you started early and the amount. You have a considerable amount to invest.
What about the richest people in the world?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we think of the Warren Buffetts of the world or the Charlie Mungers of the world who ended up becoming the richest investors on planet Earth.
Yeah.
What was their strategy?
I'll tell you. Let's talk about Warren Buffett. There's a friend of mine, Morgan Housel. He wrote this amazing article.
I love that book.
Yeah, The Psychology of Money. He wrote this amazing article about Warren Buffett. If you look at Warren Buffett's returns, he started investing at a very young age, and the money compounded. Again, it's like putting the turkey in the oven and letting it sit there, not just for an hour, but many hours. In his case, 60 plus years. He has made over 99% of his wealth happened over the age of 60. Okay? Think about that. It's all because he started investing so far ago. And what is mind-boggling is that you don't need a fancy strategy. You don't need to be picking individual stocks. You don't even need to be a genius. To make a lot of money, you do not have to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to remember a few key things. Start as early as possible. Okay? And if you're not 16 years old, if you're 30, 40, even 45, okay, start now. Second, invest aggressively every single month. That's critical. Third, keep your costs low. 1% in fees is going to take 28% of your returns. 2% is going to take over 55% of your returns. Keep your costs low. If you do those things, you will have more money than you ever imagined.
What are the attributes of someone that's probably going to be poor in 30 years in terms of their relationship and their behavior with their money?
Easy. They don't invest. They feel overwhelmed and anxious about money, and they talk about it all the time, but they've never read a single book about money. And there's these deeper attributes they have. Only rich people invest.
They think that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm here. I want everyday people to know, just like me. I started off, my parents immigrated from India. I had no special investment knowledge, but I had two parents who were educated and encouraged me and said, learn this stuff. Here, we'll do it together. And that was a gift. Everyday people can build tremendous wealth, which in and of itself is impressive, but it's even more impressive when that wealth is used to live a rich life of adventure and spontaneity and generosity.
Some of the stats I pulled out from your book, about 25% of people who make $100,000 a year plus are still living paycheck to paycheck. According to a recent survey of millionaires done by the US Trust, 83% of the wealthy say their largest investment gains have come from small wins over time
Yeah.
rather than taking big risks.
Yes, this is counter to everything we see on TV, because on TV, it's really boring. What are you going to look at my Vanguard account? Oh, wow, compounding 7% per year. It went down 8% last year and it went up 9% this year. So boring. So we see these cool stories of business owners, and we're both business owners. It is cool. But a tremendous amount of my own wealth will come from low cost, long-term methodical investing.
That's like a rule of life, isn't it? That the real returns, in reality, the great returns come from patience and consistency and things that really aren't sexy. Like, they're not Instagrammable. If I post on my Instagram today, hey, I've got some advice for you guys to become wealthy, and I go, you need to invest in this fund, and just leave it there. But if I go, listen, I've got this new NFT collection or cryptocurrency coin that's going to make you 1,000,000% this year, people are going to go all in. That's just like something within the human condition where we want big returns with little effort and today.
We want to get rich quick.
Same with a six-pack. We want the six-pack abs in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't want six-pack abs with diet restrictions and 9 months of work. That's not...
And that is why I have a lot of compassion for helping people unlearn some of the messages about money, because we all have them. We all have the equivalent of, I want six-pack abs. But we also have something in life that we've spent time to get really good at. And we know that the secret is basically consistency. If I go ask someone who's an amazing cook, hey, I want to cook like you, how do I do it? What are they going to give me? Use cinnamon? No, they're going to say, get in the kitchen and cook every single day for 5 years, and you're going to learn about when to use salt and when to cook it for longer. Fitness, you want to ask someone who looks really good or feels really good about their body? They're going to give you some secret workout? No, they're going to say, I show up when I feel good. I show up when I don't. I show up.
Let's think about the people that might be listening now. So there's going to be someone that is they're a bus driver, or they are a social media manager. They are a cleaner. They're a teacher. They are a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. If your job was to make that person a millionaire in 20 years from now, whatever age they are right now, and you were their financial advisor. Yeah. In fact, you were controlling all of their personal, professional decisions. Talk me through what you would do with that individual at a very detailed level.
I would do a few things. Number one, that the most important things I would do would be set up automatic investing and be aggressive about it. Two, they have to increase their income.
Okay, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to embody that person that I've just described. So increase my income. I'm a personal trainer.
Perfect.
Okay, so what shall I do?
All right. You're a personal trainer. So first off, I would say, how much are you charging? How are you finding your clients? We talk about that. And let's say you're charging $100 an hour and you have clients, they say, how long do they stay on average?
That's exactly what I'm
2
charging.
months. Perfect. Great.
They stay longer than 2 months. I'm very good.
How long do they stay?
3 months.
3 months. Wow. Okay. You're very good. All right. So your average client is worth few $1,000.
Yeah.
Great. So you're making, let's say, $60,000, $70,000 a year. All right. The first thing, after I understand all this information, I would say, all right, we're going to double your income. How are we going to do that? The first answer everyone gives is, I got to find more clients. Okay, you should. You should ask your clients, hey, I've got a few slots available. Who would you recommend? So you should get more clients. Second, you're going to listen to your clients and you're going to say, what else are you looking for? I know you've got your fitness journey you're going on. They're going to tell you, I've got a 10-year reunion. I want to plan for that. Another person's going to say, gosh, I know I should be eating healthier, but it's really hard for me. So you're thinking about it. Here's what you do. You package up meal planning services. You can either do their macros for them and charge them a little bit extra. Let's say an extra $200 a week or $200 a month. You can also partner with a food delivery service and you coordinate with that company to feed over their macros and it gets delivered to them and you take a small cut. Right there, you've added thousands and thousands of dollars per year per client as long as they stick with you. In addition to that, you can do group sessions. So you go, hey, I'm going to do a weekend session. I'd like for you to invite your friends. Invite them for free. And of course, of the people who come, let's say you get 15, 20 people to come. You do a free little session on Saturday. You go, I'm a trainer. I work in Soho. I have 3 open slots. That's how you're finding new clients now. So you're doing 2 things. You're finding new clients, you're increasing your average lifetime value per client. Okay? That's 2 things. Now let's do one last thing. Let's increase the duration that they stick with you. They're sticking with you for 3 months. Give them a special offer to stay with you for 6 months. So when they sign up, they work out with you for a month. You say, look, it's $100 right now. If you stick with me for a 6-month plan, I will give you my sessions at $95 per plan. You'll save X 5%. 1, 2, 3. You've increased. And if we did the math, you may have doubled your revenue. You certainly boosted your profit in a huge way.
A lot of that's about making sure you're getting a better return per hour you spend at work, but also making sure all of those hours are full, but then doubling down and making sure each hour, because that's your currency when you're a personal trainer, you're trading in your time. I need to make the most from every hour I spend. I've thought about something recently as I've been writing my new book, The Diary of a CEO, which I've written these 33 laws for building and becoming great, essentially. It goes across marketing and business and whatever. And one of the chapters that I investigate is this idea of making sure your skills are on the right market. So my company went public. And one of the things that I came to learn from sitting with investment bankers for many, many years was that if you put a company, the exact same company, let's just say it's, the company that make these silver mugs in front of me. If I take this company public on the London Stock Exchange, I might get, for example, 4 times revenue. If I take the exact same company and I list it on the New York Stock Exchange, it will be valued at 8 times revenue.
Yeah.
It's the exact same company, exact same people, exact same business, just moving it to a different market. And upon leaving the social media marketing world when I was 27 years old, one of the first calls I got was from a biotech company ran by a billionaire friend of mine that was going public. And they brought me in. And on the first week, when we were discussing what they might pay me, I'm thinking they can't really pay me in cash because I've got enough cash. I don't really need that. They can maybe give me some stock. Their offer to me for my skill set was $8 million, roughly $8 million in options that I would earn in 9 months from taking the company from where it was, building out the marketing team, handling their storytelling, and taking the company public, which we did at about 3.2 billion valuation. Their offer was $8 million in options. I reflect on that and go, I'd spent the previous 10 years using the same skill set to sell consumer goods like dresses and iPhones for Apple and Logitech and big fashion brands.
Yeah.
I took the same skill set and applied it to a market and industry where it was rare. Biotech people know nothing about Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and social media. So my skill set was rare, scarce in that market, so it was incredibly valuable. Yeah. And I think about this a lot with especially as this AI thing rolls in. I think people should be looking at their skill sets and going, where is my skill set as a writer going to yield the greatest returns? I could be a social media manager, I could be a blog writer, or I could add a little string to my bow and become a scientific writer or like work a writer in biotech, and you'll get paid. If you can add that little bit of knowledge to your writing skills, you'll get paid, I'm going to say 5 times, potentially 5 times more. Yeah. And people don't think about the fact that they need to place their skill sets in the most lucrative market where it's scarce. Yeah. And just throwing that out there because it's really front of mind for me at the moment. Like, it's personal training, like personal training, you could be at a gym and you'll lose 75% of your income to the gym, or
you can do it virtually. You can specialize on just preparing people in the beginning of the year. It's like your best year. And every January, that is your focus. It can be celebrity clients. It can be uptown, mid-career executives. That's a very lucrative. You choose, but you choose carefully. I agree. That's a bit of an advanced concept. I think most people, they start off, they go, just how do I make more money? I'm a trainer, I have free hours, but once you kind of master that and you go, like, for example, there's a trainer I know here who charges $175 an hour. That's very good. After you get that and you fill up your entire calendar, you go, okay, I'm making $305,000 a year. I want to make more. How do I do it? Now you need to get creative. You move to different markets. You add in package things that scale when you sleep. You have video courses, etc. There's so many different ways. But I think everyone would do well to listen to what you're saying, which is think about how to move up market or potentially to a totally different market.
Where your skill set is really scarce.
Yeah.
And that's the problem a lot of people have. Their skill set might be too abundant in the industry.
Like social media managers.
Social media managers is one thing, but that's a slightly different skill set because there's a wealth of knowledge there that is unique to that. Knowing the algorithms, knowing the platforms, there's a real creative element to it. But I think about my friend Anthony. He was a graphic designer, the greatest graphic designer I ever knew in Manchester. But he was designing nightclub flyers, and he's talked about this publicly before. For every nightclub flyer he designed, he got $50, the equivalent, $50 to $100, right? I had a conversation with him a couple of years ago about this, and I said, you're really specifically good at like luxury design. He's got that really like beautiful, chic, simple, but elegant design style. I always go to him whenever I need design work like that. So I said to him, move to Dubai and go there and help design luxury brands. And this guy did it. So he went from Manchester, where he was doing nightclub flyers, to moving to Dubai. And without revealing his financial position, what I can say is the same hour per piece of work is now yielding him tens and tens more in returns. Instead of getting $500, he's getting $50,000 for a project. And it's just moving his skill set, the same thing, designing on the same software, to a different industry, which will appreciate and pay him more for the same skill.
The lesson I take away from that, beyond his willingness to actually make a change, which is amazing, is that most of us do not think in terms of discontinuous jumps. We think, okay, I have $100 a month. What if I had $120 a month? Well, 20% is quite good. That's amazing. But what if I had $500 a month or 5,000? That's a discontinuous jump. And to get those kind of numbers, something big has to change. In business, moving markets, developing a new skill, partnering, all those things. But it's different. In investing, it's primarily time. And that's where we're not attuned to it. We go, well, I only have like a couple $100 a month to invest. That's nothing. It's only going to turn into a few thousand. You go, no, you're not thinking about time, because the human mind is not made for compounding. So plug it into a calculator and you will be blown away. Same thing, buying a house. You're only thinking of how expensive your rent is, which granted, rents are very expensive, but you're not actually factoring in how much time and money it costs to pay taxes and maintenance and interest on your loan. You've got to get smart about running the numbers. And when you start to sit back, when you learn the basic language of money and you understand how you feel about money, whether it be I like status or I like luxury or I don't really care about XYZ, when you understand your own feelings, suddenly you can almost look at the chessboard dispassionately. You sit back, you go, okay, I see what's going on here. I even see how I am a player on the game of life when it comes to money. And then you start to say the most powerful question of all, what if? What if I earned more? What if I spent less? What if I decided I actually love traveling 2 months a year or buying a house because I can decorate it the way I want? What if? And then you can start to make moves that line up with your rich life.
Someone comes to you and they say, what about crypto? I get that question a lot.
Oh, God.
What about crypto? Should I be investing in that? My friends told me about this new coin, and I'm thinking of putting a couple of £1,000 into it. I get this all the time.
God.
Should I invest in that coin that my friend told me about?
So I get this question a lot. I got it a lot a few years ago.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happened. People read the book. They know that I'm a fan of low cost, long-term investing. And then all these crypto nuts grow up and they grow up to be, 19 years old. And they go, oh, Ramit Sethi, such an old guy, such a Luddite. He doesn't understand investing. This is the new future. Fiat is dead. I go, I have a couple of questions for you. Number one, what does the rest of your portfolio look like? They go, portfolio, I put it all in on crypto. I go, oh, God, okay. Second, do you think that it's normal to get 4,000% return per year when over about 100 years, the stock market has returned approximately 7% per year? They go, yeah, that's because fiat is dead, you idiot. We're going to the moon. I go, you're going bankrupt. And many of them did lose a tremendous amount of money. My view on crypto is if you have a well-diversified portfolio, well-diversified, and you want to have a little bit of fun with 1, 2, even 5% of your portfolio, go ahead. And that could be crypto. It could be an individual stock. It could be investing in your friend's bar in Brooklyn. It could be whatever you want. But you got to limit your risk. And what you find is that the type of people who tended to be attracted to crypto tended to be extremely risk-seeking. And in fact, they saw diversification and risk management as boring for old people. This game is a marathon. You want to live a rich life, you want to be living it for 60, 70 years. I'm not trying to get 10,000% returns and then blow out. And that's what happened to many of them.
I mean, part of the problem here is that when we do get our 10,000 returns, 10,000% return moment.
Yeah, we think it's going to be 10 million %, if we just
But we also go tell everybody.
Oh, of course. You never hear anyone saying, let me tell you something. Thank you for saying that. I went on Twitter because, I mess around with these crypto guys a lot on Twitter. I have a great time doing it. I go, hey, where'd all the crypto bros go? Everyone seems to have disappeared in 2023. Where'd you guys go? And there's just like crickets, where in 2020, they were really coming out, guns blazing. I said, if you have lost a lot of money from crypto, send me an email. I want to share your story. I'll keep you anonymous. I have a lot of people who follow me on social media. I got less than 3 responses. We love to share our successes. We love it. We do it with crypto. We do it with buying a house and selling it for a profit. We do it with business. We do it with all that stuff. But you almost never hear anyone saying, oh my gosh, I bought this. I sold it for 1/5 the price. Oh, and by the way, because of the transaction fees associated, I actually lost like 80% of my money, or 85% of my money. You never hear that. It's deeply shameful for people to admit that they lost money.
It's the opposite of status, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're not wired to seek the opposite of status.
Exactly.
We're not wired to voluntarily bring ourselves down in the tribe.
Exactly. We are safety seeking, we are status seeking. And so this is what happens with money. That's why I talk about prenups and why I talk about investing and mistakes and all of the above, is that I want to shine a light and show people, if you are only seeing the top of the iceberg, all the successes, of course you feel like you're behind. Of course you feel like everyone knows something you don't. But it's complex. Some people make good decisions, some make poor decisions. We got to look at them all, and then we will understand what's right for us.
So my position on crypto is I believe in the underlying technology of the blockchain, and I've been a big Ethereum holder for a very, very long time, but it does represent less than 5% of my portfolio, although I am a very big holder in Ethereum, and I've held it for so long that although I'm at a point of profit right now, I'm well aware that I could go into a huge, into the red.
Yeah.
Irrespective of that, it is inconsequential to any decisions or my financial portfolio at large, and B, because of that, I have such a long-term time horizon that I could hold it for 30, 40 years, and I've never flinched. Yeah. I don't check the price. Sometimes I just check my password works, but I've never traded. I have no interest in that. Ramit's 10 money rules. I just want to go through these 10 money rules because you mentioned prenups there, and I was quite curious that number 10 in these rules is marrying the right person. But let's start at number 1. Always have 1 year of emergency funds.
Yeah. So for me, 1 year of emergency fund is conservative. It's more conservative than most. Lets me sleep at night, and I just keep the cash in a savings account. It's not under my pillow. Cash does not mean it's sitting under my bed. Please don't try to rob me. It's cash in a savings account, totally liquid, and that's what it's for. Emergencies.
Rule number 2, save 10%, invest 20% of gross annual income.
Yeah, this is all about the numbers that I shared and being more aggressive with them. I know that paying myself first now turns into way more later, so I invest aggressively.
Rule 3, pay cash for large expenses like engagement rings or big holidays or weddings.
Yeah. This one is controversial because for the things that are important to me, I don't want price to be the number one concern. So I'd rather save up for it. When I was in my 20s, before I ever met my wife, I knew one day I would get married. And because I'm Indian, I knew we would have a big wedding. And I wanted it to be amazing. So I started putting money aside every single month automatically. I do the same thing for trips, house, etc.
Rule 4, never question spending money on books, appetizers, health, or donating to a friend's charity fundraiser.
Yeah. So the books and the appetizers are a little weird. I have something called Ramit's book buying rule, which means if you ever see a book that you're even remotely interested in, just buy it. Don't ask a question, don't equivocate, just get it. Because if you can learn one thing from that book, it can transform your life. Appetizers, when I was a kid, we couldn't afford to eat appetizers. So we would eat out every 6 to 8 weeks. If we had a coupon, we'd usually go to a pizza place. Getting appetizers was inconceivable. So now when I eat out, to be able to see 1 or even 2 appetizers that look good, I go, yeah, I'll take them both. It feels incredibly rich. And this is just an example of how our childhood sticks with us. It feels awesome to be able to do that.
Rule number 5, business class flights on flights over 4 hours long.
Yes. Again, my money rules, not for anyone else. When I was in my early 20s, I would get on a flight and I would actually in my head scoff as I was walking from the front of the plane to the back. I'd be like, why would anyone spend 4 times the money paying for a first class ticket? It makes no sense. We're all getting to the same place. Ha ha ha. I wish instead of disparaging that, I would have gotten curious. And I wish I would have said, wow, if somebody can afford to get those seats, why would they? I wonder what they're spending money on. Aren't we all getting to the same place? And if I had gone from disparagement to curiosity, from D to C, I would have understood that some people have their office paying for it. Some people
All right, today we are going to have you guys with us doing
Hello everyone, let's make this super duper delicious ramen bowl. सुरुमा सफ्ट बोइल्ड एग बनाउन प्यानमा पानी तताउँ र थोरै नुन राखी एगलाई मिडियम हिटमा 6 मिनेटसम्म बोइल गरौँ। बोइल भइसकेपछि आइस वाटरमा 10 मिनेट्स डुबाई यसलाई सेलाउन दिउँ। एग पिल गरिसकेपछि अब चिकन पिसेस फ्राई गरौँ। थोरै नुन र जिरा राखी बोथ साइड फर्काई फ्राई गर्नु पर्दछ र हाफ टेबल स्पुन सोया सस पनि हालौँ। जब रेडिश कलर आउँछ चिकन पिसेस फ्राई भइसक्यो। अब नेक्स्ट हामीलाई चाहिन्छ गाजर। गाजरलाई यसरी लङ थिन पिसेस पारी काटेपछि फ्राई गरी निकालौँ। अब हरियो प्याज र लसुनलाई पनि सानो सानो पिसेस पारेर काट्नुहोस् र साइडमा राखौँ। यसरी सबै इन्ग्रेडियन्ट्स रेडी भइसकेपछि अब रामेनलाई बोइल गर्नुहोस्। बोइल भइसकेपछि बाँकी रहेको पानीमा चीज स्लाइस हाली राम्ररी मिक्स गरौँ। यतिको थिक टेक्सचर आइसकेपछि हाम्रो रामेन सुप रेडी भयो। अब एउटा बाउल लिनुहोस् र अघि काटेर राखेको हरियो प्याज लसुन हालौँ र 1 स्पुन सेसमी सिड्स पनि हालौँ। यसपछि रामेनको सस र स्पाइसेस हालौँ र सँगै 1 स्पुन पिनट बटर पनि राख्नुहोस्। सबै राखिसकेपछि अन्तिममा तातो तेलले झानी राम्ररी मिक्स गरौँ। मिक्स गरिसकेपछि अघि बनाउनु भएको रामेन सुप पनि हाल्नुहोस् र राम्ररी मिक्स गर्दै जानुहोस्। सबै मिक्स भइसकेपछि अब बोइल्ड रामेनलाई राख्नुहोस्। अब यसपछि आधा कप तातो पानी पनि हालिदिनुहोस् र एट लास्ट फ्राइड चिकन, गाजर, बोइल्ड एग र ग्रीन अनियनले टपिङ गरी यो स्पेशल रामेन बोल इन्जोय गर्नुहोस्।
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about signs that she is wasting your time, which means that she probably doesn't like you. Now, disclaimer here, I have done videos in the past discussing signs that a girl doesn't like you, how to tell a girl is using you, etc., things on that kind of topic. But it's been a while since I've made one of those videos, and there are some new things I would like to discuss or just elaborate on a little bit. Just a refresher for you, there might be times when I do a similar video to one that I've done in the past, but try to remember that not everyone has seen every single video that I've made, and also I'm evolving over here. It's okay for your opinion to change or to just have more wisdom about something that you would like to share or again elaborate on. So let's talk about some ways to tell that she's just not that into you and is wasting your time. The first sign is inconsistent communication. So minimal, delayed, or inconsistent communication is a big one here. As we saw in a recent reaction video that I did of a girl saying how many unanswered texts she had from men in her phone, and that replying in one business day was a privilege for men that she actually likes. As brutal as that is, it might be helpful for some of you to hear so that you can get over that girl who never responded to your message that you sent 2 weeks ago. If a girl likes you, she will want to talk to you. If she's taking days or weeks to respond, chances are she's just not that interested. Maybe she's finally replying because she wants the attention from you, but doesn't actually have any intention of dating you or getting to know you or liking you at all, which is obviously a complete waste of your time. Another sign that she's wasting your time is if she reaches out to you, but if and only if she needs something or wants a favor from you, but otherwise would rarely engage in conversation with you. She wants what you can do for her, not you. Big difference there. And remember here that no response is a response. Also, slow responses or confusing responses consistently aren't healthy forms of communication that are going to foster a genuine connection between the two of you or lead to anything positive. More likely than not, it will just lead to you wasting your time. The next sign that she's wasting your time is she's sending you mixed signals. She might be sending confusing or mixed signals about her level of interest or commitment to you. Mixed signals can be a sign of emotional immaturity or indecisiveness about you, which obviously aren't great. Of course, there's nuance. I know some of you struggle with social cues or just want to know what the signs are for future reference. But if you clicked on my video today with a specific girl in mind, because maybe you're at a point where you're confused about her, or you've ended up on my video because you can't tell if she likes you or not, that might be the only sign you need that she does not actually like you and she's wasting your time. Or she's playing games with you, which isn't a good thing either. It's not healthy and a complete waste of your time. I think engaging with someone who is sending you mixed signals, confusing signals, acting hot and cold with you, playing mind games, any of the above is a complete waste of your time. It's not going to lead to a healthy relationship. This is not what healthy communication looks like. Someone who is sending you mixed signals or is making you confused about where you stand with them, goodbye. The next sign is that she's putting in no or low effort. If she's putting in no or low effort, she's probably not that into you. From a woman's perspective here, when a woman is interested in you, she will be putting in effort in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it doesn't look like planning the dates. A lot of women will expect you to do that on the first date or the first few dates, but she will be putting effort in other ways, whether it be the conversation, initiating contact with you, asking you questions, trying to get to know you, etc. But if she's putting in no or low effort, she isn't interested in getting to know you. Maybe she isn't asking you any questions about yourself at all or trying to get to know you on a deeper level. She also might not actively listen or remember when you actually do share details about yourself with her. And sometimes this can look like her talking about herself 24/7. Maybe she goes on and on about herself but doesn't ask you anything. Remember, there needs to be equal sharing. Getting to know each other is how you determine if you'd like to go on more dates and if you're compatible or not. And you don't want to be in a one-sided relationship where you're putting in all the effort, you're asking all the questions, and she's just there for the ride, wasting your time and talking about herself nonstop. One-sided relationships are a waste of your time. Now, on the flip side here, maybe the opposite is true, and when you ask her questions about herself, she might give very short answers and just overall act uninterested to be talking to you in general. Maybe she's not opening up or sharing her feelings and might just kind of seem emotionally distant or detached. You might think, why is she even responding to me then if she's only saying one word? Well, maybe she's bored. Maybe she likes the attention and the fact that you reply even though she's putting in legitimately no effort. And my advice here would be stop settling for people who put in no effort, gentlemen. It's a two-way street. So again, to wrap this one up, if she's putting in no effort into getting to know you, initiating contact, plans, talking to you during a conversation, it could be a sign that she's just not that into you and is wasting your time. And honestly, guys, this is what I would call a non-reciprocal chase. There is no way this is bringing fulfillment or joy into your life. Deep down, you probably know that this is a waste of your time. Maybe you just needed to hear me say it today in order for it to click. My next sign that she's wasting your time, and one of the biggest ones, is that she's flaky. Maybe she makes promises, plans, or commitments to you, but then fails to follow through repeatedly. Has she canceled your first date 3 times, but says she would love to see you though, but then doesn't try and reschedule? She's wasting your time. If she cancels once and doesn't try to reschedule, that would personally be it for me. I wouldn't waste my time on someone who is unreliable, but to each their own. If she tries to reschedule, we can give a little bit of grace here, but if she flakes again, goodbye. You are not a freaking pen pal, and if someone isn't going to follow through with the plans and commitments that they made in order to get to know you, you can move right along. Just a reminder here for this one, texting should be used as kind of a means to an end. Texting should be a way to orchestrate actual plans where you can genuinely get to know each other and go out on a date. Again, very different if you're long distance and this is all that's going on right now, but you have to know when it's time to walk away if this girl is treating you like a pen pal. If she's constantly canceling dates, flaking last minute, making excuses as to why she can't hang out with you, saying that she's too busy, she is wasting your time. If a girl likes you, she will want to meet up with you. She will want to see you and get to know you and see if you guys are compatible to move things along. Unfortunately, what you allow is what will continue. I would highly encourage you to stop letting people waste your time. Stop letting people walk all over you, breadcrumb you, drag you along, string you along, and really see things for what they are instead of what you want them to be. And I guarantee you it will all make much more sense. So guys, that is all I have for this video. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. Let me know down in the comments some other signs that a girl might. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be covering some mixed signals that girls send to guys. Listen, I know dating can be pretty confusing, and trying to understand women is something that you guys request my advice for on the regular. So in this video, I'm going to be going over some common mixed signals that women typically send men and how you can make sure that you're not wasting your time. Of course, mixed signals are not always malicious, so I want to make that clear. On one end of the spectrum, mixed signals can be just a miscommunication, but on the other end, it could be the girl who keeps you at an arm's length to use you. I'll explain more throughout the video, but please keep that in mind going in. And be sure to stick around until the very end because I'm going to explain the 5 categories that all of these fall into and exactly why women do this. So the first mixed signal that I want to talk about is once you stop giving her attention, all of a sudden she wants you now. This is beyond annoying and something that I personally see happen way too often and way more than I would actually like to admit. So it's this whole phenomenon of you stop giving her attention, you stop reaching out, you stop chasing her, and all of a sudden she's now interested. Or another thing here could be she sees you with someone else and now she's into you. Well, of course she is. Not to burst your bubble, I know it's exciting when they finally like you back and you feel like, oh, something happened, she must have came to her senses. But most of the time here, this is often just a sign that she likes the attention that you give her. It can feel really confusing and certainly would be considered a mixed signal when you thought she wasn't interested and now all of a sudden she is, now that you've stopped giving her that attention. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, I thought she didn't like me, but now she's messaging me all the time saying she wants to hang out or X, Y, and Z. And it's just not a really good situation to be in because, again, typically this is the girl that's just using you for attention. She likes the attention that you give her and doesn't actually like you, because if she liked you, she would have been into you before she saw you with someone else, or she would have been into you when you were being a healthy human being and giving her attention and pursuing her. And this is something that I see a lot too, and I know it's talked about here on YouTube a lot, is this thing where women will see you with someone else and then it makes them like you because they see that you're an eligible bachelor for another woman. They see another woman who's interested in you, or they see you attracting, beautiful women. All of a sudden they're like, oh, well, if those girls want him, then I should want him too. Or, oh, he's a good catch because these other women are into him as well. So it's this whole thing. It goes back to our biology of being interested in someone who has options, hypergamy at its finest. So just keep that in mind. And I've actually done an entire video on why they come back after rejecting you. So if you're interested in that, I will link it down below for you guys instead of going on and on in this video. Okay, the next mixed signal is that she's being hot and cold or playing hard to get. Most of the time, these go hand in hand. And honestly, both of these just make my head spin. I think that playing games in dating is so immature, and it's very insecure and a huge red flag in my personal opinion. I talk about this a lot on my channel, and I always say the same thing. One day she might be super into you and texting you a ton and being very responsive, and then the next day or the next week, you don't hear from her at all. What's going on? And there are a few reasons why women might play hard to get. First one here is to test a man's interest. Some women play hard to get because they're testing your level of interest in them. If a man is willing to put in the effort to pursue her, it can be a sign that he is genuinely interested in her. But then they, think that you're a simp and they're not interested when you're finally interested in them, and it's just this huge mess. So someone testing you in this way is not a positive thing and kind of a red flag in my opinion. The next reason women might also play hard to get is to protect themselves emotionally. So by not showing their interest too quickly, they can avoid getting hurt if the man turns out to be someone who is not interested in a serious relationship or just not interested in her in general. Playing hard to get can also boost a woman's self-esteem because it can be validating to know that someone is interested in you enough to continue to chase you even though they're not sure if you like them in return. Toxic. And I will say this again, as I've said so many times before, I think that playing mind games with people, playing hard to get, being hot and cold, these are just things that you don't want to get yourself into, and you certainly don't want to be with someone who is doing these things to you. I think it starts the relationship off on a really unhealthy and toxic foot. And if you're looking for a healthy, fulfilling relationship with another human being, a big part of that is healthy communication. And I just simply don't think there is any healthy communication going on if someone is playing games with you, purposely playing hot and cold or hard to get. The next mixed signal that girls will sometimes send is she flirts with other guys or talks about other guys to you, or even her ex. And here you are probably thinking, okay, well, I thought she liked me. Why is she flirting with other guys? Or why is she talking about other guys to me? There are a few reasons why she might be doing this, and to be honest, none of them are good. She might really like this external validation and attention from other men, or think that it'll make you give her more attention too. Sometimes women think that flirting with other men can be a way for women to get attention from the guy that they actually like. They might be trying to show him that they're desirable and that that guy should be interested in them because other guys are, right? She might simply be keeping her options open, or she's trying to make you jealous or, again, test you. So some women might flirt with other men as a way to make the guy that they like jealous. They might be thinking to themselves, this is for sure going to make him, realize his feelings for me, and he's going to chase me even more if he sees me with another guy. I would not recommend you guys be with a woman who is actively trying to make you jealous or talking about other men in front of you to make you feel a certain way. I just don't think this is healthy or necessarily positive, as I mentioned. The next mixed signal is simply her words and her actions do not match. She might say all the right things to you, but if her actions aren't matching, that's a mixed signal and a sign to abort mission, my friend. And I made this one here a more general point because I think that there are a ton of different examples that could fall into this one, but I'll give you some of the most common ones to look out for. The first example is she says she wants to see you, but she's just too busy. And this right here is just another case of watch what she does and not what she says. I miss you, or I want to see you, but then she says she's too busy and the plans never follow through. I'm not buying it. Also included here could be canceling last minute. I get a lot of questions from you guys about why women do this or what it means or if you should give another chance. And I think we can give a little bit of grace for the first time this happens, but if she's a repeat offender, it's time to go. The reason being, if she genuinely liked you, she would make time for you and make that a priority. We're all busy, let's be real, but if she wanted to spend time with you and get to know you, she would be doing it. If she missed you, if she says she wants to see you, and she really means it, she would be doing it. So again, watch what people do, not what they say. I think sometimes people do tell you exactly who they are, but you can often see things so much more clearly if you just watch someone's actions instead of listening to the words that they're saying to you. So on to the next portion of the video here are the 5 categories that these often fall into. So when a girl sends mixed signals, it can often fall into one of these 5 categories that I'm going to talk about. The first one being that she's unsure about her feelings. So sometimes a woman might not be sure if she's interested in a man or not, and in these cases she might send mixed signals because she's just trying to figure out her feelings. This is not necessarily malicious as some of the other ones are, but I think it's still, brings up some concern of, is this woman emotionally unavailable and not ready for a relationship, and that's why she's sending me mixed signals? Or is she keeping me at a distance because she wants to, keep her options open? She isn't sure if she wants to commit to me. I mean, there are a ton of different things that could be included in this one, but a woman being unsure about her feelings is certainly a reason why she might be sending mixed signals. And to that I say, do you want to be with someone who is not sure about you? That's up to you. You set your boundaries and do whatever you feel comfortable with, but I don't know if I necessarily recommend that. The second category is she's playing hard to get, as I mentioned earlier in one of my examples. So some women might send mixed signals as a way to test a man's interest or to make him work harder to win her over. So included in that category obviously is playing hard to get, but also being hot and cold, sending you these mixed signals that make you confused about, does she like me or not? But playing hard to get is different than being unsure about your feelings because you're doing that on purpose. The next category is she struggles with communication. So a woman might be sending you mixed signals if she's afraid of being rejected. Maybe she's interested but also scared to show it. Or maybe she just has a really hard time with communication and expressing how she feels to you or being vulnerable. So this one, not necessarily malicious. I do think not being able to effectively communicate is something though that needs to be worked on. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about 5 signs that she's not over her ex and you're probably a rebound. So if you've ever been a rebound or you've ever sought out a rebound, you probably know these things all too well. Often when people get out of a relationship with someone, instead of healing from it so that they can properly move on to the next person, they rush into something with someone else when they're not necessarily ready for it as a quick fix and a band-aid to a deeper problem that they really need to heal and get over. So being a rebound is way more common than I think people realize. I feel like a lot of people today are constantly looking for instant gratification and the next thing. So I want to make sure you guys are not experiencing that, and I also want to make sure that you guys are not going for someone that's going to be a rebound for you, because it's not healthy. You need to really take a step back, look at your past relationship, figure out what went well, what didn't, maybe have a little bit of self-awareness so that you can heal from it and properly move on in a healthy way so that your next relationship can be amazing. Because I promise, rushing into a new relationship is not the answer. So in past
So I'm going to do a video about your girlfriend seeing her ex and all this stuff with girlfriends having boyfriends and all this stuff, because I keep on getting messages on Instagram, a lot of ridiculous content, emails where guys are asking me these questions that are basic, simple questions where you should know that if you have respect for yourself, you should know how to handle yourself as a man. So I want to just go through this, and I'll go through multiple of these scenarios so you guys can see this from time to time and why it doesn't make sense to ever allow a girl to disrespect you in this way. All right, let's just jump into this video here, or to the email. He says, "Hey John, hello John. I just came across your video. Girlfriend has guy friends who just watch your channel today for the first time. Man, you're amazing. Not only have you gave good advice, but you in fact show how your words has to be framed. Only a true guru can know that. I don't know about the guru. I'm a fake guru. All right, John, I have something that's worrying me, and I would love your advice. In fact, you should make a video on it, as the situation is unique, but it happens with a lot of people. So I'm dating this girl, and I'm based in India. She is an Indian origin American girl. We're dating for 4 months now. In fact, we are living together the past 3 months. Okay, so we got a girl that I guess he's in India. Okay, she's Indian American, whatever. All right, they've been dating for 4 months. They've been living together for 3 months. Okay, this is important to understand. Now, 2 weeks ago, she went back to the USA for 2 months. Okay, she hasn't been into the USA in the last 2 years, so of course she wanted to see all her friends, Some of them are guys. Now, here things get complicated. She has an ex-boyfriend. They were friends in college for 3 years before they started dating, but they broke up 2 years ago. This is when she came to India. Now she went there. She met him once, and next week she's going to meet his family, which she claims is as a family of her own. Okay, so first off, right off the bat here, I don't even like the idea that she's going away to the US for 2 months. I feel like if you're living with a girl, that if you're expecting that she's going to just go to the US for 2 months, I think you just want to end the relationship there. I know that seems a little harsh and a little extreme, but there's just too many scenarios as how this could play. I mean, if you're going to go to the US with her, that's fine. If she's going to go to the US for like a week or even 2 weeks, that's fine. I mean, you're probably going to want to have some kind of assurance from her, like some kind of understanding of what is she going to do and where is she going to go, so you understand these things. Again, it's not about, some people say, oh, well, that's insecure, you should just trust her. Yeah, you can, and you should trust her, but at the same time, you also have to be smart, right? Like, you know, I generally trust myself not to binge eat and eat a bunch of junk food, but if it's around, if there's a bag of candy open next to me, you know, my trust for myself, even though I generally trust myself as a human being and I trust myself enough to be disciplined to run marathons and do all this stuff, I don't have the degree of trust that I'm not going to eat some of that candy out of that bag when it's right there in front of my face. So when people make these trust arguments, it's dumb, okay? Every single person is capable of temptation, and so you have to avoid those things. But anyway, just the fact that she's going back there, I don't like that. The fact that, you know, she even saw her ex-boyfriend, absolutely no. At that point, it's done. I'd be like, yeah, we're done, whatever, or we're not exclusive anymore. If you want to date me, we can still date, but you're not going to live here, and we're not going to play that game. If you go and see your ex-boyfriend, that's pretty much it. Now, I know there could be some extenuating circumstances for this, but in this case, it's not like she was married to him. It's not like they have a kid together. It's not like all these things. Instead, it's just literally, she's just going to go back and talk with this guy, okay? And she thinks that his family is her family. No, it doesn't fly. It's no good. She has to have enough respect for you, whether her intentions are true or not. It's all the appearance. Respect is a lot of ways about the appearance. And so, guys, if you allow the appearance of a girl to disrespect you, that is the same thing, right? Because in a way, she is respecting you, because how it appears to other people, she's creating a bad image or a low image of you in the way that she's treating you to other people. Even if you know she's fully trustworthy, even if you know her intents are pure, she's still creating that image, right? Everyone who knows that you're her boyfriend is going to feel less of you or think less of you because of that. So that's something to really understand here. All right. Now, she is sharing everything with me, keeping me up to date about everything. Okay, I mean, that's good, but is she really? Like, can you ever even know that? She clearly told me that the reason she met him is because she doesn't want to lose a friend, as they have a history which goes way back before they're dating. Okay, so this is some bullshit here, all right? As you know, men and women cannot be friends, right? I mean, sure, at some acquaintance level you can, but if you have a history, if you've had sex with someone, she's obviously attracted to the guy. He's obviously attracted to her, right? Physically. So you cannot go back and then be friends at that level and then expect that nothing will happen. I'm not saying that you couldn't be friends with someone, right? But what I'm saying is that there's always a very high possibility and probability of something happening, all right? Maybe they get drunk, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always that possibility. So it doesn't make sense. So you have to have enough respect for yourself to say, look, if you're going to be living with me, if you're going to be my girlfriend, if we're going to be exclusive, if you expect me to be exclusive with you, you're not having guys that are friends. Okay. You're cutting the friendships with guys, you know, acquaintances, sure. Guys that you've known for a long time and we go together to meet with them in a group or something like that. Totally fine. Okay. You know, something like that, whatever, gay guy or something like that. It's a marginal case. You probably still want to be involved in that situation to understand what the communication is, but basically the same respect that she would expect from you. I mean, flip it. Let's say you're going to the US for 2 months and you're going to go talk to your ex-girlfriend and her family. You think any girl that has any kind of respect for herself would put up with that? Would you respect a girl that put up with that? No. Okay. It doesn't matter if she trusts you so much. You're going to be like, there's something wrong with this girl that she doesn't have a problem with this. All right. Either there's something wrong with her in the fact that like she doesn't have respect for herself, or she doesn't care about you very much if she doesn't really care if you go run off and do that. So think about it that way. All right. Now, Till now, I kept it cool as I truly trust her. She is coming back to India in a month anyway. Should I let her know that it's not cool hanging out with her boyfriend's family or whatever? I should just play it cool as she's going to come here in a month anyway, and she is keeping me updated. I would really appreciate a reply. I'm glad I found your channel. Thanks so much in advance. Okay, so late reply on this, obviously. But the answer is, yeah, you should tell her it's not cool. You should tell her, look, you can do whatever you want. And again, this is where it doesn't come in controlling. So many people are like, oh, you can't control women. You can't, it's being controlling. It's being domineering. No, you can do whatever you want. I don't care who you are. If you're in my life, you're my friend, girlfriend, wife, family member, whatever it is, any relation you have, you can literally do whatever you want. I don't care. Okay. But if you do certain things, then I will do certain things. And it's not a threat. It's just, I have boundaries. I have standards. Okay. I'm not going to allow someone to treat me in a way that I don't want to be treated. So I'm going to exit that situation if you treat me that way. So in this case, you can tell her, hey, look, you can do whatever you want. Truly you can. But I'll tell you this, if you feel like you want to hang out with his family and keep this guy as a friend, then I really do not want to be in a relationship with someone who would do that. I feel like it's disrespectful to me, and regardless of what your intents are, I don't like it, and it doesn't make me comfortable, and I don't want to be in that situation. So I'm going to respectfully bow out of that situation. I'm not going to be in that situation. That's it. That's it. But you can do whatever you want. I'm not even going to be mad at you. I'm not going to hold any grudge against you. It's just that you're making your choice, and I'm not trying to give you an ultimatum or anything. You know what I mean? You can lay it down just like that. Like, really, you can truly do whatever you want to do, because you're a free person. You're human. I want you to be free. I want you to be able to do what you want to do. But in that circumstance, if that's what you want to do, then being in a relationship with you is not something that I want to do. And that's totally fine, right? And you have to really think that and really believe that, because that has to be the truth, guys, because you guys have to really have this be your core truth, is that you don't want to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be with you, or you don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to treat you the way that you want to be treated. You have to have that respect for yourself. If you want some help with this, click the link down below, join the Bulldog Mindset membership, and I will drill it into your damn head. I will make you into a man. I promise you, if you get in there and you listen, all right, I will make you into a man. I will teach you all the things you need to know about dating, about building mindset, becoming the man that can leave this option on the table and be like, see, the problem is when you're like, oh, she's coming back to me to be with me anyway. What? Are you serious? Like, that's how low you value yourself? Is that, oh, well, she's going to ultimately be with you? No, the respect for yourself goes deeper than that. So join the Bulldog Mindset membership, man up, learn how to do that today. We have a whole community of men, a whole bunch of lessons on everything from dating to building a business and finance and becoming a strong, physically strong, masculine man. So go check it out. All right. Now, to wrap this up, all right, what I would say about this is, guys, you have to have the mindset that you don't want less than what you're willing to accept, right? You cannot control other people. All right. I'm not talking about controlling your girlfriend. When I say that you don't allow your girlfriend to have friends that are guys, I'm not saying to lay down the law and tell her this is how it's got to be. I'm telling her, give her full freedom to do it. But you're just not going to be in a relationship with someone who has that, right? And again, if you've made the mistake, don't enter a relationship with someone exclusively if they have that. If you're at this situation, you're dating this girl, she has a bunch of guy friends, she hangs out with the guy friends, you're never going to bring up the conversation that you want is something exclusive. You never should anyway. She brings it up. She's like, where are we going with this? Whatever. She says, I want to be exclusive or whatever. And you say, that's great. Except that the problem I have is that I don't want to be in an exclusive relationship with someone who has a bunch of guy friends like you do, who hangs out with guy friends. So, we can just leave it as it is, right? You're not even asking her, right? She knows at that point, she's got to be like, okay, well, that's unreasonable. You can't ask me to, I've had these friends for a long time and I'm just going to leave. Totally cool. Fine. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you that these are what my boundaries are and what my standards are for entering an exclusive relationship with a woman. It's fine. If you don't want to do that, it's totally fine. If she's smart and she does actually value you very highly, which you'll find out right there, she's going to say, well, you know what? Okay, I'm willing to give that up. I'm willing to it's good, fine. It's great. Okay. Now she's making that choice, right? Now, if you're already in a situation, you hear this advice and you're already exclusively dating a girl, you can change your mind. You're free to break up with someone for any reason that you want to. Okay. You can change your mind. Okay. So you can just be like, look, I have an issue. Okay. Oh, what's your issue? Well, my issue is that I don't really like you hanging out with guys. I don't like you having guy friends. I don't like that. Right. Okay. So she addresses that however she wants to. She says, oh, really? Okay. Well, I won't do that. Whatever. You have a good conversation, or she doesn't understand why. You kind of give her a little bit of an explanation of why, so she has some context because you're already in a relationship with her. You kind of at that level. All right. Or she's like, no, fuck you. Okay. Either way, you've expressed your disapproval. You said what you don't like. And now it's up to you. Now you get to see how she handles it. Okay. Again, it's not a threat. It's not a controlling thing. She can handle it however she wants to. She can be like, she can stop hanging out with them. She can tell you she's going to. Okay. Or she can ignore that and just keep on hanging out with them. And then now you have a decision to decide, okay, you've said what you like and what you don't like. She's made her choices. Now you get to make your choice, which is, do you want to be in that relationship or not? Okay. That's how it goes, because you can't force anyone to do anything, and they can't force you to do anything. It's all at will, right? There is no such thing as exploiting someone or controlling them or domineering them, right? It is your choice and their choice, right? Unless you have a gun to their head, they have free will. They have a choice to make, and you have a choice to make, and you can't blame each other for the choices. You could try to use tactics and manipulate people and guilt people and give them ultimatums, and fine. And I'm against all those things, but that's what it ultimately comes down to. So again, with this whole situation, right, for you guys that are trying to resolve these things, by the way, again, Bulldog Mindset membership, I've got a ton of content on that. But if you're trying to resolve these things, think about, what do you define as respect, and what is disrespect to you? And then what is it that you want, and what is it that you like? And then there might be some pluses and minuses. There might be some things that you're willing to live with, and some things that you're not, some risks you're willing to take. And then ultimately you got to say, okay, I need to express what I want and what I don't want. And then that other person has a choice. And based on what they choose, then I will decide if I want to stay or not, because that's always your choice. Okay. So again, in this situation, it's up to you, but I would not want to be in the situation that you're in. I don't think you want to be in that situation. And so if you choose to stay with her and to let her do this and to disrespect you in this way, then just expect that the repercussions of your actions. Okay. Instead, if you don't like it, you should be able to stand up for yourself and say, I don't like it. And even if that means that she moves out and you still date her, maybe that's fine, until she's willing to, be at a level where you feel comfortable with a long-term relationship and her.
What is up, Kings? It's Andy Graziosi helping you unleash your confidence. In today's video, we're going to talk about dating boundaries. When you're in a relationship with a woman, you gotta make sure that you have the ground rules in the relationship set, and you gotta make sure that you both make each other happy. And especially, what about boundaries with talking with an ex? What if your girlfriend is still talking to her ex? How do you feel about that? Is that the right thing for her to do, or should she maybe just stop talking to her ex? What if that guy is thirsty? What if that guy is trying to get back with her? This is typically a recipe for disaster. And so you gotta have healthy boundaries and tell your woman what you want and what you don't want. And if you don't get what you want, if she won't give you what you want, maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship with this kind of woman. So I have a situation from a guy who is in that situation. He's dating a girl, I think it's a 4 months relationship, and she is still talking to her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, but who knows. And yeah, let's see what I have to say. He says, hello coach, I would like to get your thoughts on a situation with a new girl that I am dating. Well, dating might be the wrong word. We're already a couple. We've been together for about 4 months now, and I've been pretty happy with her all this time. But I noticed something that I don't really like. She is still talking to her ex. For me, that's kind of a big no-go, but I'm torn because I understand that it's up to her what she does with her life. Obviously, we are an early couple, so it's not really up to me to tell her to not talk to her ex. But I can't help but feel that it's not the right thing to do. Usually, I probably wouldn't mind if my girlfriend still talks to her ex, but this one is different. Her ex is kind of thirsty. I can just tell that she still wants to be with her. I know I am biased and it is more a feeling than 100% proof, but the way he talks to her just seems weak and needy. Well, it is quite understandable. Look, some couples or some ex-couples can stay friends and there's nothing there, it's super platonic and they just don't give a shit about each other anymore. It is possible, yes. That said, most of the time, it actually has been studied that most of these couples or ex-couples, they just drift apart. They don't stay friends and eventually, whatever. New lives, new future with someone else, new friends, and you don't have much in common long term. And it just fades away. Now, for those people where it doesn't fade away and you have a really good friend, That's great for those people. But most of the time, it's just really dangerous because there's still emotions involved. And you could actually see this as an escape plan, an escape route to say, okay, you know what, I'm not happy with my current relationship and I still have a backup here. I still have someone who is still there, possibly waiting for me. And so if you say that he seems very weak and needy, it's kind of understandable why you wouldn't want that. And yes, you are an early couple, so to some extent it is true that you can't tell her what to do after just 4 months of dating. But let's first see what you have to say about him in particular, and then I'll give you my final conclusion about this. You say, I don't want to make any wrong assumptions, but if I didn't know it any better, my ex kind of likes the attention she gets from him. I talked with her about it and she assured me that they are just friends and that she just thinks that they spent a lot of time together and he's been an important part of her life. Which I get, but I don't know, man. Am I actually just crazy or what? Am I in the wrong? Should I just chill the fuck out? Look, if you can feel that there's something off and that she likes the attention and this guy is kind of thirsty, then, well, the thing is, it's kind of tricky, right? It depends on the context. Your situation is you've only been together for 4 months. Honestly, what I would do is I would tell her what you want, what you don't want. And if she can't give you that, it probably would be a good idea to just break up at this point because there's not enough damage at this point, right? So if you would be in a 1-year relationship or 1.5 or 2 years, and then you recognize you don't want this and she can't give you what you want, if she actually stays in touch with this guy and then you break up, it's much more painful and there's no good ending there because, you know, like you said, are you making assumptions? Are you crazy? Who knows? But you say that you think that she likes attention. That is kind of actually a really red flag. If she does like that, yeah, she's keeping her options open. I'm not saying that she's a cheater. I'm not saying that she's necessarily a narcissist who is monkey branching, but perhaps she's not fully committed to you. Perhaps you're just a rebound. Perhaps she's not taking this as seriously as you are. And if that's the case, well, then you also got to ask yourself, is this the right thing for you? But because if she doesn't take it very serious, but you do, and you want to be one unit, whereas she is kind of a unit, but you know, she keeps one little finger out there ready to reach out to some other guy, that obviously cannot work. So you gotta have a conversation with her about this. And should you chill the fuck out? I don't think so, but let's see. You say, I actually had a girlfriend before with who I was still friends, and back then it didn't bother me. With my current girlfriend, it's probably because I can see him commenting on her posts. I just don't like it. The way he talks to her is just too comfortable for my taste. I know this is so lame, but I checked out her Facebook. I saw that recently he tagged her in some cute dog video, which is just so fucking weird to me. I mean, who does that? I feel like you only do this with people with whom you want to be intimate with and if you're having feelings for each other. Now, yeah, that is, again, a little bit of a red flag-ish. Even if they would be close friends, sharing and tagging. What is up, Kings? It's Andy Graziosi helping you unleash your confidence.
We're going to be talking about the issue of your girlfriend having guy friends. And a lot of guys are opposed to this, primarily because they feel like that's like mate guarding and it's a needy position. But for me, I really think it's just a practical common sense thing. But I'm going to give you the solution to this. I'm going to talk about why it's not a good idea to have her having guy friends in the first place. Okay, and second, how you can deal with this in a way that is going to be alpha as opposed to the way that most guys deal with it, which comes across as beta and needy. If you guys are just joining me for the first time, I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man. I teach you how to build financial independence, how to get the physique that you want, how to get the girls you want, and how to go from the victim mindset to the bulldog mindset. If that sounds like something that you are at all interested in, click that subscribe button, click the bell to get notifications so you don't miss any of these videos. And as always, there is the Bulldog quiz that you can take right up here in the corner, also link in the description. And if you take that quiz, it will give you a score from 0 to 100 and tell you whether or not you're a bulldog. So go check it out. All right, so we're going to look at my Instagram here. By the way, sometimes a good way to get a hold of me is to follow me on Instagram and DM me. Sometimes I'll be on my walk and I'll answer you personally via video. So so check that out. All right, let me see here if we can switch over. Okay, there, perfect. All right, so this is the question I got. He says, "Hey John, I missed the AMA, but I just wanted to ask, in your Will Smith video, you advise guys not to bring their women around other guys. If my girl says she wants to hang out with her, quote, guy friend, bad sign, I know, I agree with your advice, but if I tell my girl I don't want her hanging around this guy, would I come off as needy / insecure if I say no?" So, okay, I understand the perception here, okay? And it depends on how you do this, right? This is really the key here, guys, is that it's not about what you say. It's about how you say it, and it's about where you're coming from. So let's look at the needy approach to this, right? So let's suppose that your girlfriend wants to hang around some guy friend, and you approach this from the needy approach. In that case, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to hold on to her, okay, as opposed to pushing her away, okay? So if you're trying to hold on to something or someone, it's needy. So you come from the frame of saying, I don't want you hanging around with your guy friends because I'm afraid that you're going to hook up with them or something's going to happen, and you're coming from the frame of saying that, you know, this hurts my feelings, or I'm scared of losing you. I don't want to lose you, so I don't think it's a good idea. And you're going to probably try and make it civil and say, I don't think it's a good idea that either of us see other friends of ours of the opposite sex, because that's not good for our relationship, or something like that. But that's really communicating the message that you're afraid you're going to lose her. That is a needy message, okay? So now let's look at it from the other perspective, the other frame. Now, what if you're doing the opposite? What if you're pushing her away to some degree when you're saying this, or you're letting her go? What if you're coming from that frame of saying, you know, this is my standard, okay? And if you don't like it, I don't care. Like, go and do whatever you want to do. But I'm just telling you that I don't allow this. This is, you know, you're essentially like, you're coming from a frame of saying that, almost pushing her away, almost saying, yeah, go ahead, have fun, but don't expect to come back to me, right? That is kind of saying the opposite, right? It's saying like, you know, I am not afraid to lose you. In fact, I'm not afraid to confront this head on, and I'm going to tell you, no, don't hang out with your guy friend, because I don't really care if this causes me to lose you, because I'm not coming from a scarcity mindset. I'm coming from an abundance mindset, and I only have people in my life that I want to have in my life. And so you're here because I want you here, and that's your good fortune. And if you mess this up, well, then you're going to be out. So looking at it from that perspective, what thing can you say? How can you actually word this? There's a lot of ways to word this, okay? And the wording is not so important. What is important is that frame that you're conveying, and that you're true to that frame. You should really be a guy that thinks, okay, if a girl is not meeting the standard that I have, then I don't want her. Okay, then I do want to push her away. I want her to leave if she's not meeting that standard. Now, how can you be that guy, that alpha male, that high value guy? It's about being that high value guy. It's about having abundance. It's about not being worried about losing someone. It's about not making a girl the center of your life, okay? Instead, having her be an addition to your life, and having other options, okay? And if you're not a guy that has other options at this point, then what it comes down to is that you just have standards for yourself. And if someone is not going to meet those standards, you've got other things in your life. You've got your purpose, you've got your mission in life, and you're focused on that and developing yourself as a man, and you're not going to accept anything less than what you want, because clearly this is not what you want, right? Now, some guy that didn't care at all if his girlfriend saw other guys, I don't think it's a good idea. But if you had that way of thinking, then you wouldn't care. Then it wouldn't be something that you need to address. You don't need to do it just because I'm telling you, or because you think that it's some kind of alpha frame. But I will tell you, okay, to diverge a little bit from the topic, that it is really not a good idea to let your girl hang around guy friends. Not a good idea at all. So many different scenarios. We're not going to get into it, but there's so many ways that can blow up in your face, and it will eventually blow up in your face. All right, this came from that Will Smith video. If you haven't watched the Will Smith video, go watch the Will Smith video. Okay, I did a video here, kind of a quick video breaking down that whole thing. There'll be a link down below as well. And this is one of the issues that guys deal with in the Bulldog Mindset membership all the time, right? The questions like this go back and forth. And, you know, and one of the reasons why I created the Bulldog Mindset membership, by the way, you can check that out down below, $7 to get in for the first month. I'm a little bit late to the part. Take advantage of that. You can cancel if you don't like it. Hardly anyone ever cancels. But one of the reasons why I created it was to create this community so you can have someone to bounce these ideas off of, as well as, figuring out how to build a business and all kinds of benefits. Just check out the link and you can see everything it offers. But what I want to talk about real quick here is some of the actual words that you might use, because again, I'm saying all this stuff, all right, and a lot of you guys are probably nodding your head and you're agreeing and you're like, okay, yeah, what you said makes sense, John, but I still don't know what to tell her. Okay, so let's say that your girlfriend says that, he said in this case, if my girl says she wants to hang out with her, quote, guy friend, what do I say? Well, here's one thing that you could say. You could basically say this, like, look, that's not cool. And she'll say, well, what do you mean that's not cool? Like, no, I don't want you hanging out with your guy friend. It's not cool. I don't know if I told you this, but I have a standard. Okay. If you're going to be my girlfriend, you hang out with other guys is just off the table. I just don't, you can do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, if you want to be with me, it's a non-negotiable. And then she'll complain, she'll call you a wuss. She'll say that you're, being needy or whatever, but you're willing to let it go, right? See, this is where the key is. This is where the frame is. This is why I said the words don't matter so much, is because she's going to test you anyway, and she's going to look for your vulnerabilities. She's going to look for your weaknesses. She's going to call into question your manhood or that you're afraid, and you're just not going to respond to it. Okay? You're just going to say, I said what I said. Do what you want. That's it. You don't say anything else because you really mean this. Okay, this is pushing her away. This is daring her to go and do it and see what happens. Okay, and you're not going to make a threat. Okay, you're just telling her that's what it is. Don't even, you're just implying that. Do what you want. Words don't matter so much. Friend, here's one thing that you could say? You could basically say this. Like, look, that's not cool. And she'll say, well, what do you mean that's not cool? Like, no, I don't want you hanging out with your guy friend. It's not cool. I don't know if I told you this, but I have a standard. Okay. If you're going to be my girlfriend, you hang out with other guys is just off the table. I just don't, you can do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, if you want to be with me, it's a non-negotiable. And then she'll complain, she'll call you a wuss. She'll say that you're, being needy or whatever, but you're willing to let it go, right? See, this is where the key is. This is where the frame is. This is why I said the words don't matter so much, is because she's going to test you anyway, and she's going to look for your vulnerabilities. She's going to look for your weaknesses. She's going to call into question your manhood, or that you're afraid, and you're just not going to respond to it. Okay? You're just going to say, I said what I said. Do what you want. That's it. You don't say anything else because you really mean this. Okay. This is pushing her away. This is daring her to go and do it and see what happens. Okay. And you're not going to make a threat. Okay. You're just telling her that's what it is. Don't even, you're just implying this. You're implying that if she does this, then that's done. Okay. And it will be done. All right. And maybe you'll have to go through this with her, and maybe it won't be worth, taking her back. Maybe you'll have to actually have the balls for her to go and hang out with her guy friend, and then for you, when she comes back, for you to say pack your shit, or to just cut communication with her, depending on whatever circumstance you're in. All right, and that's it. And you can just tell her, I told you what I said, and you did what you chose. You made your choice, and that's it. Okay. Now, probably she'll come crawling back to you, and you might have to decide whether you're going to keep her. Or she might not come crawling back to you, in which case, hey, you just did yourself a really big fucking favor, because you just got rid of someone who was going to fucking screw you over at some point in the future, okay? Because she doesn't actually care about you. She's not actually has genuine desire for you. She doesn't have that. Otherwise, she would do what you say. What your standards would be valuable enough for her to not hang out with her guy friend, okay? Because she basically chose him over you, right? So it's always going to be a good outcome for you as long as you're coming in with that frame. If you come in with the needy frame and you're trying to hold on to her, and that's your motive for doing it, it's not good. Your motive for doing this should be that this is your standard, honestly, and you don't want this, and you're not going to accept something that you don't want, and it's a good test, right? Like, okay, either way, you're going to win, because either she's going to pass the test and it's good and you're getting what you want, or she's going to fail the test and you're going to learn something and you're going to be able to get rid of her because you know that she's not going to be good for you in the long run. So that's what it comes down to, guys. And, you can argue till you're blue in the face telling me, oh yeah, this is beta or whatever. And, oh, you shouldn't be afraid of guy friends. But hey, look, just look at ask guys, it doesn't matter how alpha you are. The problem is that if you create opportunity for a girl that you're with to cheat on you, if you make it so convenient and you're not a man who has your standards and who draws a line in the sand, it's going to happen. Even, again, Will Smith was a perfect example. Being a guy that has millions of dollars, is famous, right, has lots of status, and the shit happened to him. Now, I understand there's different circumstances there and whatnot, but the fact of the matter remains is that it did happen, and so you can't necessarily protect yourself from that. But, if you're cool with it, if you're like, hey, well, if she does, I don't care, then sure, that's fine. I can respect that viewpoint. I'm never going to share that viewpoint, but I can respect that viewpoint. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Again, if you haven't already checked out the Bulldog Mindset membership, I'd highly recommend that you do this for getting your shit right, getting your mindset right, not just on the dating and relationship stuff, although that's important, but just having the alpha mindset, right? That's what we're doing in the Bulldog Mindset, is teaching men how to become alpha men in all areas of their life, okay? And in order to have success with women in dating and these type of things, and to know how to handle these situations, you have to develop yourself in the other areas, right? You have to develop the stoic mindset to be able to master your emotions. You have to be able to be a man who's successful financially, okay? Who is able to say what he wants to say, and to be a guy that takes care of himself, discipline, physical discipline, is able to look good, right? I think these are all important parts of being a man. So make sure you check it out. And if you guys have other questions like this, let me know. I'll recommend another video for you Again, I recommend this video a lot, but alpha males have a low tolerance for women. Okay, this is a critical video for you to watch if you want to like understand. But I just wanted to make a video talking about the Will Smith entanglement debacle that's been going on YouTube and a lot across the internet really for the last couple of weeks. You know, a lot of people said, oh, he's very blue-pilled, he's not a red-pilled guy, he's not an alpha male. There's some truth to some of these things, but it's not 100% accurate. So I am gonna be talking about, though, what he did get wrong, and we're gonna learn some lessons here. If you guys are just joining me for the first time, I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man. I teach you how to be financially successful, how to build financial independence, how to get the physique you want, how to get the girls you want, and how to go from the victim mindset to the bulldog mindset. If that sounds like something that you are at all interested in, and click the subscribe button. Okay, click the bell to get notifications on videos, and take the Bulldog quiz if you haven't already. It's up in the corner here. It's also in the link below, and I think you're going to find that extremely useful for assessing where you are right now in your life as a man, as a bulldog. All right, so let's talk about what happened here. All right, so first of all, I want you to think about Will Smith. Okay. Now, there's this interview where he talked about becoming a famous actor so that he would never have a girl cheat on him again. I remember seeing this little clip, and it was kind of interesting, right? You know, you look at that and you kind of have to question, like, when someone says that, are they really very red-pilled? Probably not. Probably fairly blue-pilled. But at the same time, you have to look at Will Smith as being someone who's extremely successful in Hollywood. Okay, good-looking guy. Very popular, right? Music videos, all kinds of, you know, movie roles, right? So he is definitely in the category of a high status male. Okay, so if he's a high status male, he's going to have a lot of attraction from females. Okay, there's no question about that. And given, you know, the circumstances that they talked about in that interview with Jada Pinkett Smith, they were on a break for what, like a couple of years or something like that, right? Where they were basically separated, broken up. So if you think that Will Smith wasn't out there, you know, banging a lot of chicks at that time, you're crazy. Okay, the dude he probably wanted the break. He was probably glad that she was hooking up with some other guy, you know, at that point, right? So that's all at this sort of surface level. Okay, so think about it again. You know, you really have to think about, like, where was Will Smith and what's going on in this situation, because I think a lot of people have been analyzing the situation, but they're analyzing it from trying to just look at Will Smith as this blue pill guy perspective, as opposed to understanding what he is hiding as well, right? So part of the reason why I think that interview went the way it did was because she sort of had him over a barrel. What she probably had him over a barrel with was that he couldn't really call her out very harshly, okay, because she could very well point to all of his indiscretions and all the women that he's probably slept with, and so it would be very hypocritical of him, right? She could basically, you know, she had a lot of dirt on him. I'm sure. You know, again, I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the case, right? So that's what I think a lot of people aren't looking at when they're looking at this situation is, so what is he doing in that situation? He's trying to get through this thing. He's trying to, like, talk about the things, but not really go into it, because he doesn't want the table to be turned on him. Because at any point, if he crosses the line too much, she could say, well, what about this and this and this? And she could bring up things from his past. He's trying to contain this fucking PR disaster that went out there, and trying to just talk about it and get it done with and be done with it. She can basically say whatever she wants. She can call it an entanglement. She can say that she hadn't had fun in her life or joy in her life for some large amount of time or whatever, or that, you know, she can say all of these kind of things that are going to basically emasculate him, and he can't say a lot back if he wants to protect himself from the things that she could bring up on him, the dirt, obviously. Like to me, this is something that is everyone's missing. I don't get why, because it's pretty damn clear to me. All right. So with that said, let's talk about a couple of things. Okay. So first of all, one of the lessons that you can learn about this is that if you have a life like Will and you have side girls like he probably does, you're going to put yourself in somewhat of a compromised situation. Just realize that, because if the things go public, okay, the dirt comes out on you. You've got skeletons in your closet. All right. So just realize that every single girl that's out there that you had some kind of entanglement with, okay, is a liability to you, and those liabilities are going to stack up over time. Now, if you're the kind of alpha male guy that doesn't give a fuck about that, then that's fine, but just be aware that that's going to happen. That's going to be out there. All right. The second thing, and I think this is one of the critical mistakes that so many guys make, and that Will made in this case, is letting other guys around your girl. All right. I don't know what the exact story was, but apparently he took this Augustus guy or whatever into his home. Okay. And they tried to help him or whatever. Not a good idea. Okay. Don't let guys around your girl. Like it's so stupid when guys do this. I go out and I'll be coaching guys at a nightclub or whatever, Vegas or something. And I will see guys taking their girls out there. And I'm thinking, are you stupid? Like, you're taking her out to a place where there are guys going to be hitting on her. It's not a very smart idea to do in general, right? And unless you have some other plan in mind there, okay? But in general, so many guys are like, oh, yeah, go ahead. And they let their girlfriend or whatever have friends that are men, or do the girls' night out thing or whatever kind of bullshit. Okay, I'm not saying that you can't do any of that stuff. I'm just saying that, like, realize if you do that, what the consequences are going to be. Because eventually, some guy that's smoother than you, that's slicker than you, okay, is going to get in there, okay? She's going to have a couple of drinks, and the situation is going to become compromised. Like, it doesn't matter how good you think your girl is, how loyal she is. Like, if you're setting yourself up for failure, setting yourself up for those situations, they're going to occur eventually. And that's the thing that Will messed up on. That was his first mess up. He should have never let some dude around his girl in his house or any of that kind of shit. Like, I don't give the fuck who you are. Like, I'm not tolerating that shit. Okay. And part of it is just because of the disrespect aspect of it, right? It's like, why would some guy want to hang around your girl? Like, it's fucking bullshit. Some guy is trying to pull that shit on me. I'm gonna fucking kick his ass to the curb. I'll do a little bit more than that. Okay. Because it doesn't even matter if he has ill intent. It just looks bad. All right. And I'm not gonna let some guy make me look bad in that way, right? A lot of this is just all public image, and that's what you're seeing here and why this whole thing blew up. But guys, like, don't be a fucking idiot. Don't let guys around your girl. It's not even that you're scared. It's not like any of those things. It's just you're not fucking stupid, okay? Because you know what guys are up to. You know what is likely to happen. You know about hypergamy. You should be smart enough to not let guys around your girl. It's just fucking common sense. All right. Next thing here is that when you look at the conversation, what happened with this red table thing, he really let her take control of the conversation. Again, now I said why I think this is the case. I think that she did have him over a barrel, but in which case, don't participate in things that are going to make you come across weak or where you don't have the upper hand. Okay. So in that situation, if he could have just stonewalled her the whole time and just not talk, said whatever, okay, let her talk about whatever she wants to talk about, okay, and just fucking basically ignored it and just whatever, not showing any kind of emotion or expression, not laughing around with her, not joking, not making light of it, just like letting her say her fucking thing, and then just saying, yeah, that's what happened. Okay. Right. And just holding the frame there, because what he did was he let her just take control of the conversation. And what I mean by that is, and you might say, well, if he's just letting her talk, wouldn't that be letting her take control? No, the fact that he went along with her frame. Okay. That's the thing to understand, is that the person who talks the most in a conversation is not the person who is in control of it. It's the person who is controlling the frame. Okay. If she's getting him to laugh and play like a little blue-pilled cuck boy while she's talking about this shit, then she is controlling the conversation and she's controlling the frame, and she's going to make him look like a blue-pilled kind of idiot, which I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly where he stands on this. Obviously, he's become a little bit more real red-pilled since this whole thing. So as he's realized this, but remember, this happened a few years ago, and he's still acting this way today. So that doesn't look too good on him. So when you're in a conversation like that, again, I would have said that he should have probably not even done this at all. He should have just let the rumors be the rumors and let whatever people are going to say, because he made himself look worse, right? I mean, which is worse? All these people saying that, this guy screwed your girl or whatever, or actually going on this, red table interview and actually confirming it and then looking like a blue-pilled simp when it happens, right? Like, do you want to look like that on TV, on the internet? He made himself look worse because he didn't have whether he had the ability to control the frame because he was over the barrel. I don't know for sure, but he certainly did not come in there controlling the frame of that conversation. He let her control it. He should have held the narrative. I mean, he tried to at some point, but he didn't he let her off the hook, right? If you want to control the frame of the conversation, you say it, and then you don't allow someone to dodge the conversation. If they try to play off what you just said, you say it again, okay? Or you say it in a different way, or you keep it right on the dial that you have said it, okay? And you don't allow the person to squirm or get off of there, right? That's what she pretty much did to him, is she had him squirming, all right? That was the big problem there. The other thing that he did a lot, which made him seem weak in that conversation, again, another thing to understand, is he did a lot of fake fronts. Okay, so he said some things like, he was like, oh yeah, I was done with you. I was done with you, when he was talking about the breakup. Or at the very end, I forget, he said something along the lines of, yeah, I was never going to talk to you again. It's amazing that I'm talking to you right now, or something like that. Those are fake fronts, okay? Because they're basically like threats, right? It's like a backwards. It's like trying to show that you're tough, right? You don't need to show that you're tough if you actually are, right? The fact that you're talking with her, the fact that you're not done with her, that's enough, right? That shows enough. We don't need to know that you were done with her. Anytime you're trying to back prove that you used to be a tough guy, or that you were a tough guy, it makes you a weak guy. It doesn't work. So don't use those things. Don't use threats, okay? And don't call out the things that you feel are going to make you seem stronger, okay? They should be implied, right? You shouldn't have to say it, right? It's like getting in a conversation with a girl that you just met and saying, I make a lot of money, okay? It shouldn't be said, it should be implied, okay? You've got a nice watch, the way that you act, the way that you handle bills when they come, the way that you handle people, right? Your lifestyle, the things that you talk about that are auxiliary things in your life, ancillary type of things, those are the things that indicate that you're a man of wealth and sophistication, that you make a lot of money, okay? Not you saying that, all right? Saying it doesn't do anything. It makes it worse. It makes it so that you're showing your insecurity, okay, and a weakness. And he did that. He kept on doing that throughout the conversation, is trying to show that he was tough, but he wasn't. It was pretty weak. The other thing is again, playing it safe in the conversation. I think perhaps a lot of what happened was that because she had him over a barrel, he kind of had to play it safe. But again, maybe he should have just said, you know what, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. You want to say some shit? Go ahead. You want to spill my dirty laundry? Go ahead. But I'm not going to let you put me in this fucking compromising situation. Don't even try this, bitch, right? He should have just stopped laughing. That's the other thing I had on here, is he's laughing, he's joking. This is not a fucking funny matter. This is not something to laugh at. He might not care, okay? He probably didn't care if she was going fucking some guy, doesn't care. But what he does care about is reputation, and he does care about the disrespect, okay? And what I saw was her disrespecting him the entire fucking conversation, and him just laughing about it and just playing it off. There's a time to laugh, guys, okay? And there's a time to be serious. I think, AMS talks about this a lot in his videos, and I have to agree with him. Guys, you shouldn't be laughing. All right. A lot of times you should not be laughing. All right. In a conversation, especially when it's some kind of conversation that's loaded like this, you should not watch what you say, and you shouldn't be laughing. You should be like, all right, say what you're going to fucking say, say it fucking plainly. All right. And don't laugh about the shit, because it's not funny. All right. That's the thing, is when you're laughing, you're sort of letting people off the hook. You're trying to ease tension. That's why it makes something really fucking uncomfortable, is because you're trying to ease the tension. Instead, you want to build up the tension. All right. He was playing it super safe in that conversation. So the lesson for you guys for this is, especially if you're in a situation where you're in a relationship, Okay. You can't be walking on eggshells and being afraid of what you're going to say because you're not going to get laid tonight, or you're going to get some repercussions, or, girlfriend, wife, whatever is going to go off on you and bitch you out. Okay. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay. If you're truly an alpha male, if you're truly a high value male, you're not going to give a fuck. You're just going to say whatever you want to say. And then you're going to let whatever she responds, it's fine. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? If you're carefully guarding your words and watching it, but better watch out that I don't say it this way. I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to get the wrath. Then you're already fucking beta pussy. You can't get out of that. And that's what he was doing there. And it's going to make you look weak. And so just say it. Just accept the consequences of what you're going to say, right? If you've ever seen Russell Brand, okay, being interviewed on TV, he just says whatever the fuck he wants, okay? He doesn't give a fuck how you react to it. He doesn't give a fuck whether it is going to be politically correct or you're going to disagree with him. He's just going to say it, all right? And that's what you have to do, is you have to just say it. And, again, like I said, I think in this situation, there were certain circumstances that were preventing Will from doing this, because he's trying to protect his image, because he knows that there's a lot of dirt on him that she had. That's what my guess would be. But in that situation, he should never got himself into that situation where he was going to be on. He should have just kept it, whatever. People can say whatever they want, but he shouldn't have gotten on public, on the internet, on this video, whatever this stupid Red Table show is, and let her basically emasculate him in front of millions of people. That was a poor choice, okay, because it's going to make him look weak at this point, and there's not much he can do to recover from that. It's already kind of out there. You can see how he handled this situation, and again, it doesn't mean that in all of his life that he's not red pilled, that he's this blue pilled cuck or whatever you want to say. I don't think that's the case, because the dude is a hardworking, really intelligent man. Again, you can be blue pilled and be that, but what I'm saying is that he's probably has a lot of experience with women. I would imagine so, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm about 50-50 on it, because watching it did he did exhibit a lot of those behaviors. But like I said, you can learn a lesson from this, right? So biggest thing to learn from this, before I tell you, actually, before I forget, make sure that if you haven't already, check out the Bulldog Mindset membership. There's a link down below. You can join us for $7 for the first month in the membership. Really awesome group of guys. We talk about shit like this. You can have discussions like this. You can talk about on our Discord server exactly, what do you think about the situation? And, this is a good place to bounce off ideas and to learn a lot of things. Also to get lessons on real estate investing, on dating, relationships, holding frame, productivity, all those things, even some fitness and diet stuff there. So go check it out. All right, now, what I was going to say is, real quick, I want to wrap up and give you the basic lessons that you should be taking from this, okay? So the first one is this, okay? Understand that whatever you have going on the side, it will probably catch up to you at some point. So just be prepared that the more that you have going on the side, the more danger you're setting up for yourself later, because those things can surface, okay? Especially if you are famous or become high status, you become a target. Second, don't let guys around your girl. Stupid, okay? Be aware of that. Just don't, okay? It's a disrespectful thing. If a guy wants to be around, why would you even want to be around some other guy's girl? There's only one fucking reason, all right? I know it, you know it. Some guy fucking does that, you kick his ass to the curb, and your girl wants to be around, you just ban her. She doesn't comply, you get rid of her. That's it. Next, don't let other people take control of the conversation. Hold the frame, keep the frame in a conversation, okay? And you do that by making sure that you don't buy into their frame. Avoid laughing and giggling, all that bullshit, okay? Keep it serious when you need to keep it serious. When they're trying to keep it serious, then you laugh and you giggle and you push them off of their frame, okay? That's what you do in order to hold the frame, and you always carry the conversation. If you're not going to be in control of this conversation, get out of the fucking conversation, all right? Will Smith should have exited that interview as soon as she started misbehaving, okay? Fake fronts don't fucking work. Stop laughing and joking and stop trying to say that you're tough and try to demonstrate that you're hard. You're not fucking hard if you have to say you're hard, okay? You're hard if you don't give a fuck, all right? You don't need to demonstrate that, okay? The worst fucking written books are the books where they spell out what the character is instead of you assessing what the character is from actually reading the book. All right, it's the worst plot that you could fucking have in a movie or a show or anything like that, where they spell it out for you. And stop playing it safe in conversations, guys, with women. All right, fucking say shit that is going to piss them off, and don't say it on purpose necessarily. I mean, you can do it sometimes, but don't give a fuck. Like, a lot of women are going to test you. They're going to see if you're going to walk on eggshells, if you're going to be afraid of their reaction. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? Don't get into arguments. Don't get sucked into arguments, but just say whatever the shit that you want to say is, all right? And don't worry about the repercussions. If you're worried about the repercussions of what you're saying, then you're going to be a fucking pussy. There's just no way around it. And stop the laughing and the joking and shit. Like, if you're trying to dissolve tension, you are being a pussy. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. Instead, if it's fucking serious, make it serious. Let it be serious. Don't fucking laugh. Don't laugh at your own jokes. Don't laugh at other people's jokes. Okay. Tell jokes. That's fine. Right. But you should be not laughing all the time and being a fucking joker. All right. It's fine to laugh. It's fine to have a good time with your friends and shit. But the more that you do that, and the more that becomes a character trait of yours, the more that you're going to be seen as a fucking joker, not as a serious guy, not the kind of alpha guy that women want to be with. They want to be with some guy that's a fucking Looney Tunes. All right, guys. If you want to watch another video, watch this video on why alpha males have a low tolerance for women. I think that you will find that video to be really useful, and I will talk to you next time.
Let's get to Monica in Los Angeles. Monica, how in the world are we doing?
Hi, Dr. D. Thank you for taking my call today.
Thank you so much for calling. It's still the middle of the night in Los Angeles, right?
No, it's actually like 8:30 in the morning right now.
All right, very cool. Say, hey, how can I help?
So I guess I'm having some difficulty between like my mentality. I have a long-term boyfriend, and right now we're kind of like in relationship limbo, as I would call it. And I'm really struggling between like...
You said long-term boyfriend and in relationship limbo. Which one is it?
Well, right now we're in relationship limbo, but we had been together for about almost 2.5 years.
Okay.
But the main issue that we've been having is that majority of my friends are guys, and he just never wanted anything to do with them. Mm-hmm. And he didn't trust me hanging out with them alone without him. And even if I did take him with me, he just, in a sense, acted like they didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And didn't really associate himself with them or anything. And it's something that I've been like continuously bringing up to him, because I slowly detached myself from my friends because of it, thinking, he's just insecure because in his past, 5-year relationship, his ex-girlfriend left him for another guy. And, if I can just show him, I'm not her and I'm not there to like leave him, things will get better. And
so so here's the deal. They won't, because that's not something that you can solve, Monica. That's not you can't fix him on this one. The decision you've got before you is this. You've got a guy that got hurt, and that's fair, right? He got cheated on. He was with somebody for a long time. She broke his heart, and now he likes you. And you've got a set of friends that are a bunch of dudes, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent, you got some friends that are a bunch of dudes. Have you ever dated any of these guys, by the way?
No.
Are these just work buddies, college buddies? Like, how do you know these dudes?
Mostly from work. Okay. And then I have a couple that I've met in class in college. Okay. But I've never dated. I've never flirted with any of them or anything like that.
So none of that for him, none of that matters. This is an alarm system issue for him, right? So this is one time he was sitting at the front of his cave, or at the back of his cave, and a tiger showed up and mauled him. And now every time he walks by any sort of cat-shaped object, he's taken off running, right? He's been down that road before, and until he does his own healing and his own work, that alarm system is going to continue to go off. That's nothing you can do. You can't You can't constantly be mining your day and your life for how he's going to respond. You can be hospitable and not a jerk. The question you're going to have to decide is, do you love him? Do you want to spend the rest of your life with him? And in this current state, being with him means that he doesn't want you hanging out with a bunch of other guys. Or do you like these work friendships more than you like this guy? That's the basic question, because you're not going to be able to fix him over here. So what do you choose? Monica, are you there?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's just like, I guess, a really tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it's hard. Do you love this guy?
Yeah, I really do.
Is he good to you?
He is.
So what is it about these other guys? What is it about hanging out with other men? What is it about them that is worth hurting the guy that you love?
Oh, they've been my friends for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And it sucks because that's basically my social circle. And it's not that I haven't tried being friends with girls. It's just all the girls that I've encountered, they have boyfriends and they feel like I'm there to like try to, do something behind their backs with their boyfriends or something like that. And it's just, I just feel like I don't feel like I have the best of luck when it comes to like trying to befriend girls, because they always feel like I have like an ulterior motive in some way, shape, or form.
Do you approach people with a flirty energy, with a sexy energy? Is that kind of your thing?
No.
No?
I'm literally just friendly.
You're just kind?
I just ask, how's your day? You look kind of sad. Is everything okay at home? Is there anything I can do to cheer you up? That's pretty much it. But somehow, I don't know.
And so I've been with the same woman for over 20 years. And if I'm out to dinner and she has a friend and her friend's husband pulls up next to my wife and says, "Hey, you look really sad. How are things going? Like, everything okay? Like, is there anything I can do to help you out?" I'm going to knock that dude's teeth out the back of his head. I'm probably going to go to jail. And then I'm going to have to be all weird here at work at Ramsey Solutions. I'm going to have to like go to a board meeting and explain to them why I got arrested for punching some strange guy in a restaurant, right? So here's the thing. I want to honor your heart here, right? I know that I'll trust you, that you have no ulterior motives. You're a good human being. You're just kind. The world desperately needs more kind people in the world, right? The other side of that is, man, sometimes when everyone around us is sending us the same signal, at some point we got to go to the mirror, right? We got to go to the mirror and say, what am I contributing to my own misery? What am I contributing to my inability to make friends here, right? And so if folks, if new girlfriend after new girlfriend has a weird vibe, at some point you got to get somebody that you trust, whether that's a counselor or a mentor or somebody from your church or somebody just in your friend circle, and say, like, man, tell me the truth. Do I just weird people out? Do people think I'm hitting on their boyfriends? And you might have to make some behavioral changes in your life if you want to have community, right? If you want to have friends. And that brings me back to the central question that you called about, is this: you cannot fix your boyfriend. You can't fix him. He has asked you to not spend your extracurricular time, whatever time you have between work and school, with a bunch of other guys. He's asked you for that time. It doesn't sound super unreasonable to me. In fact, that sounds appropriate. If y'all are getting more serious, you're getting more locked in together, you're thinking about what tomorrow might look like, you're thinking about getting married to this dude, you're thinking about having kids with this guy. At some point, you're going to have to let those other, like, college buddy dudes, you're going to have to let those circles fade off into the mist, man. They were fun. They were exciting. And now I'm creating a world. I'm co-creating this new universe with this guy. Or you're going to have to look him in the eye and say, man, you won't be a guy that makes me give up my friends. I don't want that. I want to keep hanging out with my buddies after work. And you're going to have to wish him well. And I know that's a hard either or, Monica, but 2.5 years, man. You know whether you love him or not. You know they're going to spend the rest of your life with this dude. And you also know his pain, you know his experiences, you know his hurt, and he's drawing a line for you. And so I'm going to recommend you get with somebody that you trust. You have a hard conversation, and you stop stringing him along. You stop stringing you along. You stop stringing you along. Make the hard call, dude. Make the hard call, Monica. Thank you so much for the call. Call me back. I want to know how this thing ends.
Examples in life. And I remember seeing the dope boys, the jack boys and stuff like that, people out there living lives of crime. And looking up to those guys because they had money. They had nice cars. They had rims on their cars. They dressed nice. And they had some of the prettiest women in the hood sitting in the passenger seat of them cars. Wasn't no doctors, wasn't no lawyers, wasn't no engineers in the neighborhood that I grew up in. So those were the guys that were the symbol of success that I had growing up. But when I grew up and I began to run the streets, I saw what that life really was about. When I started really experiencing and living that life and seeing some of the things that come with that life firsthand, I realized, man, this junk ain't all what it's cracked up to be. When I got a friend that died, got shot down in his neighborhood over some street beef. When I seen him leave behind 2 little girls that don't have a daddy no more. Mama got to take care of them kids by herself unless she finds somebody that's willing to help her raise them. I seen my cousin doing a life sentence right now. Got a daughter out here in this world with no daddy. I seen a lot of dudes I went to school with die from beef, getting shot down in the street after the club. I seen dudes get pulled over by the police and swallow their drugs so they don't get caught with them and die.
But he goes, I am surprised with the vocabulary you have. You haven't written a book. And then I said, well, I might after this experience. And he's like, I'm not that special. I'm sure you have tons of men pursuing you, but definitely can make a film.
There's examples in life.
Drug dealer boyfriend or OnlyFans boyfriend? Who you choosing?
Drug dealer. OnlyFans, like other girls have to see that.
Drug dealer boyfriend or OnlyFans boyfriend? Who you choosing?
OnlyFans.
Drug dealer girlfriend or OnlyFans girlfriend? Who you choosing?
OnlyFans girlfriend.
What are they dealing? Why not? Huh? Just weed or?
He's got this load of cocaine waiting to be moved that he's storing in one of his warehouse spaces. He shows up early morning to the warehouse. He gets raided by the DEA. And guess who's leading that raid? Badge out, hat on, M15 to his face. His girlfriend, his pregnant soon-to-be wife. it gets that deep. They set this whole thing up. They planted her in that bar that day. You know, this piece of ass that got recruited by the DEA, probably for reasons like this, set this motherfucker up, lied, said she was pregnant, and he pulled the classic mistake. He showed the broad where the work was at, and everything came tumbling down. That was the most chilling thing I ever heard. I mean, my nipples are hard right now. He's got this load of cocaine waiting to be moved that he's storing in one of his warehouse spaces. He shows up early morning.
Hi, my name is Chantal, and welcome to the Journals of a Codependent. So while I was editing my other video, I thought it'd be really helpful to share with you the experiences that I've made with dating a drug addict and my recommendations that I could give for dating, like when you are in that situation and what you can do. I'm not going to make a list out of it. You'll find everything in the description box, but I don't want it to be a set of rules that you should follow. Most importantly, whatever I'm going to tell you, it's your choice. You make your own decisions. You should make your own decisions, and you should make your own experiences as well. I think had it not gotten that worse, I would have probably still be with him until this day. So I think the negative experiences were a good thing, but I don't think they should necessarily happen to everyone. I don't think anyone deserves that, and I think if it can be avoided, it's great. So yeah, I think, so the most important thing that you have to do or tell yourself or know is that it's not your fault. You are not the reason why somebody is addicted. Whether it's your parent, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, it's not on you. It's their responsibility. If you want to put in like the Narcotics Anonymous, the Alcoholics Anonymous, they would say it's a disease. Okay, fine. Even if it's a disease, it's still their decision, their responsibility, and not yours. You're not there to take care of them. You're not there to help them get out of it. They have to do that all by themselves. Not only by themselves, but themselves. So I think that's the most important thing that you have to remember. You cannot cure an addiction. You are not there to help the addiction, because what happens is if you try really hard curing it or trying to help in curing it or thinking that you are, it may make things worse. And that's what caused me to enable him and become codependent myself. I wanted him to be happy so bad that, first of all, I gave him money or I let him pawn my stuff to buy drugs. But then I wanted him to stop using drugs so bad that I was willing to do what it takes to get him to stop. But it was not my responsibility. I shouldn't be doing all that stuff. He should be taking his ass to rehab and not, taking his ass to my bank account. So that's the most important thing. The first thing that I would tell anybody is it's not on you. It's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility. Secondly, if you do think it is, it's not. But if you find yourself in a situation where you want to help, I don't know if there is a one size fits all help. It really depends on the character and on the individual. My ex-boyfriend was super addicted. He's been taking crystal meth for years. Who am I to make him stop all of a sudden? I don't even know if I actually had children with him that it would have made him stop, because it didn't initially. I mean, he does have kids now, and I believe he's still been using at the beginning. It's only now that I see he's gained weight. When a drug addict, especially when it comes to crystal meth, when it comes to any kind of amphetamine like cocaine, they usually lose weight because they are awake a lot and they don't like to eat. Like they don't feel like eating anymore. They get such a high that they start to crash afterwards. So the high lasts way longer with amphetamines, especially with crystal meth. It lasts a bit longer, and it takes a lot more dopamine out of your reserves, which is why you crash even more. Crashing basically means you're tired, you're knocked out, you're going to sleep it out. If someone disturbs you, you're irritated as fuck. You're aggressive as well during that phase. So that's the aggressive phase. A lot of people are going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this because I experienced it myself. So if you're dating an addict who is using hard drugs, amphetamines that crash, things that change your personality, there's nothing you can do at the moment when they take it. So the best advice is to just stay away. Don't be within their reach when they're crashing. Don't be near them. That way they can't manipulate you. That way they can't lash out on you. Be there maybe when they're taking the drug actively without you joining in. Be there in all other times. Yeah, but I know it's difficult. I know it's just not, I just can't, just say do this and do that and then it's going to be wonderful, because it's not easy. It never will be. It never is. The joy of recovery, oh my God, that's like the best feeling ever, because you felt like you just went through shit. But as a matter of fact, you didn't go through it together. The person who's addicted drags you into it, and that's highly unfair for you. And you shouldn't be in that situation. They should have been open to you from the beginning if they weren't, for instance. If they were, and you still went for it, then that was your choice, but you have to make that experience as well. And you have to kind of know when you've had it. I mean, you've heard my story in the other video, and I've been cheated on. I've caught him cheating. I've been choked. I've been molested. I've been abused. I've been kept away countless nights. My shit's been stolen. He scratched my dad's car. He stabbed my dad's car's tires. He called my friends up. I didn't even mention that. He called my friends up and asked about me. He just, it was too much. He sent me death threats at the end, and I mean, that was enough. But I think if you reach out, in the age of the internet, look for Narcotics Anonymous, look for the 12 Steps program, maybe approach the subject with your loved one. Talk to them about having these meetings online. There are other options. You don't need to go there if you feel embarrassed by it. If they live in a city where it's allowed, for instance, if they're addicted to heroin, if they live in a city where it's allowed to have these booths, to have these, they're called public drug spaces or drug use spaces, where they can use the drug in public with other drug users who just want to use it safely, with safety personnel there. That's something that you can encourage them to do if you're afraid of them actually overdosing when it comes to heroin. You can overdose on any other drug as well. I'm not saying it's just for heroin, but it's most commonly used for heroin. Talk to your friends. Find some friends you can trust. Open up. They would know what to do if they haven't been in a situation like this. They will probably not understand you and will probably say, leave him or leave her. It's always easy if you're talking from the outside. It's always simple when you're not the one involved, when you're not feeling anything for that person, when you're not in love. It's always simple. Talk to the relatives of the person, to talk to his or her friends. Try to reach out and see if there's something that you can do together, or maybe talk through it together. It helped me so much. It helped me tremendously that his siblings were suffering from what he's doing, that his sister-in-law, his other sisters-in-law were all suffering, that his mother was even suffering. But she didn't openly talk about it. She didn't openly talk about his addiction. Maybe because she felt guilty and because she enabled him as well. She sent him money. She kept on sending him money and supporting him. But talk to the people around your partner or your loved one. It will help you. It will help you find solace. And it's okay to leave. Really. Really. It's really okay to leave. Even just for a bit. It doesn't need to be permanent. You can always say, listen, you need to sober up. Until then, we can't have a good relationship. We can't have a relationship at all because you have to put yourself first. It's not a relationship if one is abusing you in any way, if one is making use of you in a way like that. If you can't have the full potential of the other partner, or let's say even 50%, it doesn't matter, but at least if their focus isn't on you and just on drugs, then you're not in a relationship either. And if you're just a tool to satisfy the person's cravings, such as I often felt, then it's not a real relationship either. Not a real loving one. It's the wrong kind of love. So it's okay to leave. I know those feelings. I know you might be in love, deeply, deeply, deeply in love, and it will hurt. It will hurt so bad. It will hurt like a bitch. But it's okay. It's okay to let go, because maybe it's all it took. Maybe that's a way to trigger the person to get their ass out there and start recovery. If the addicted doesn't have a support system, two things can happen. It could get better and it could get worse. Depending on where you live, there's always a safety net for people like that. Depending on where you live again. So for instance, here in Germany, there is such a safety blanket that if you lose everything, you still can, there's always somewhere to go. Even if you're a hobo, even if you're jobless, if you don't have a place to live, there's always a place you can go here. There's always a place you can sleep. It's a bit different in the US though. And sometimes all it takes is for someone to fall on their face and reach their limit. But some people, they will never be able to recover alone. So they do need support. Maybe the smartest thing here to do is to say, listen, I can't be with you like this when you're like this. But should you need recovery, should you want to go for recovery, I'll be there for you. That's something I should have done back then. I feel like I should have done exactly that. Because what do you have to lose? You've already lost. You've already lost a partner. And all you can do is watch them decay. Watch them abuse their bodies, their minds. Watch them get sucked into that. And I mean, you've got to prioritize yourself as well. And maybe, just maybe, that will also help your loved one. So I hope that helped you on how to deal with an addicted loved one. I'll be posting more content, of course, on my life as well. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you soon.
All right, everybody. Welcome into Bare Knuckle Recovery Podcast, episode 3.
That's right.
As usual, I'm Tommy Streeter. I'm here with Nate Mollering. And if you guys follow us on Facebook, then you would have seen the video that we made the other day where we did talk about Recovery Month a little bit.
Yep.
And we also encouraged everybody to, message us with questions that they may have that they want to hear us talk about, different topics that they want to hear us talk about. And we actually had some people do that. So we always appreciate that. We need things to talk about on here because I don't think anybody would want to just sit here and listen to Nate and I make fun of each other. And
I think some people would like that.
They probably would, but there's also a lot of inside jokes that they would hear that, in general,
right.
They wouldn't understand.
We would try to keep it to outside jokes if we could.
We would try. But anyways, we did get a few questions, so I just picked out one of them and we'll see where it goes.
All right.
So we'll just get into it. And this is not a question that we received one time. This is a question that Nate and I have been asked many times over the years.
Probably every day.
Almost. Maybe multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And it's a question that I hate getting because it's sad.
It's a hard question to answer.
It is. And, you feel for the people that are asking the question. That's the tough part because, as you guys, that was my mom for a long time. It was your mom for a long time. Yep. Everyone who cared about us for a long time.
Right.
So, Nate, when we get this question, here's the question. How do we help somebody? How do I help somebody that desperately needs help but does not want help or does not think that they need help when it's obvious to everybody around them that they're struggling and they do need help?
Yeah.
How do we help somebody that doesn't want help?
Well, it's very hard. I will say many times that people who ask us that question are looking for a specific answer. And each case is different, right? So, there's always a different set of factors with each person who's struggling.
There's not one...
one size fits all.
It's not black and white to answer this question.
There's not an algorithm that you can plug in to your brain and, you know, take a series of actions and spit out an end result where the person is going to change their mind and be excited to go to treatment and be like, you know what, you're right, I need help. That's what we all want to see. Really, for me, you know, in my experience, personally, in my journey, you know, when I asked for help, and I hear Stefan say this all the time. So, and Stefan is the guy that we work with at Fort Wayne Recovery. He's director of operations, great guy, a lot of life experience. And he used to say to people all the time, you're going to ask me for my help. I'm going to give you my help. I don't know if you're ready for my help, because all I can be is me. Yep. But I'm going to help you how I can help you, you know, and whether you receive it or not is up to you. Because a lot of people say, I want help, but when they ask for that help, they don't even know what they're asking for.
Yeah, so I was going to say, they don't know what
they're asking for. So when you give people help and you give them suggestions on how to help the person, you know, especially somebody who doesn't want to accept it, who doesn't want to admit they have a problem, it's a tough thing to do, because how do you get somebody motivated to go to treatment? Well, it's very tough. One of the things you start to do is remove the enabling parts, right? I mean, we talk about support. Support and enabling are two very different things, but there's a fine line, right? And there's a gray area in there, right? And this is not a black and white answer. It's not really easy to know with each person what's actually going to help them, what's going to hurt them. But one of the things is, a lot of times we tell people, number one, don't give them money, right? That's a big one. We tell them you don't have to put up with their abuse either, right? It's good to have boundaries and discipline to take care of yourself. I know these are all topics we were going to talk about today, but they all kind of run together, especially with this question.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
So many times, if you have a loved one who you want to get help, and they don't want to get help, you have to find a way to either make it their idea or make it the only option that they have left. And that can be very difficult to do. For me, I had to end up being homeless, on the streets, no money, no gas in my car, nowhere to go. I mean, I had absolutely nothing.
So let's talk about the homeless part.
Right.
Why were you homeless?
I was homeless because when it came down to my family, right, they didn't ask for me to live in their home and be in active use. Because when I was in active use, I was not somebody who was pleasant to be around it whatsoever. I was somebody who changed as an individual. My personality changed. I was very annoying. Number one, I was a liar. I would steal. I would do all these things, right? And I also would make just a lot of bad decisions, and other people around me would really catch the shrapnel from that, if you would, for lack of a better term, you know?
Yep.
So my family said at some point, you know, like, I love you and I want you to get help, but you can't live here anymore because we can't help you, right? And that's one thing I think a lot of people don't realize, is that there isn't a whole lot you can do to help that person. We always tell family members that parents, spouses, grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, cousins, whatever you are to that person, you are not meant to be their sponsor. You're not meant to be their sober living manager. You're not meant to be their probation officer, their parole officer. You're not meant to be a detective. You're not meant to be a counselor. You are just supposed to be the role that you're in.
And it has to be, and we are not parents, so we can't really put ourselves in those shoes, but we can speak from experience of what we know that we put our parents through and what they have shared with us. So
right.
I know for my mom especially, and I assume for yours too, for a mother to hear, or a father, either way, you know, for a parent, excuse me, for a parent to hear your child is struggling with something very serious and there's nothing that you can really do to help that. Like, I mean, that has to be one of the hardest things ever for them to hear. And I know that my mom told me, you know, kicking me out of her house, which happened many times, just like it did to you. I can't imagine how hard that must have been. And I mean, my mom tells the story of the last time she kicked me out of her house, and they gave me the option, you know, they never made me homeless. You know, our parents did not make us homeless. We chose to leave instead of getting help.
Right.
Because we had been in treatment before, and maybe it didn't work out because we didn't want it to work out, or we didn't do what we were supposed to do. So that I wasn't really ready to go back to treatment yet. So I wasn't told simply get out of my house. I was told, you can either go back to treatment or you can get out of my house. And of course, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going back to treatment, so I'll leave. And my mom tells this story, and I have this little tiny, you know, Nike drawstring bag with everything that I own in this bag. And I'm walking away, and she's standing there still trying to give me a ride somewhere.
Right.
I was like, where are you going to take me? I don't even know where I'm going.
Bro.
But just to hear her tell that story, I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking. So I hate having to tell parents that, but there's not really a solid answer.
Well, I mean, identify the problem and express to the individual how it makes you feel.
Yep.
Tell them how it's impacted your life and why you're concerned about them. And always focus on the fact that you love them and you care about them and you simply want them to get help for their sake. But it's okay to also say that what you're continuing to do isn't working for me either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my mom, she wouldn't sleep well. And part of the reason she wouldn't sleep well is because she'd wake up and she said every night she would come in my room, she would put her hand on my back to make sure I was still breathing.
Yeah.
Several times a night.
And see, no mother should have to do that. And that's where eventually both of our mothers got to that point where they're like, okay, he's going to do what he's going to do.
Yep.
My mom has, you know, she told me that she knew that I was going to die.
Yep.
And she was even at the point where she said she would be at peace when I died because then she knew that I would not be suffering anymore.
Right.
What she wasn't going to do is let me die under her roof.
Right.
Because then she would have felt responsible for that. Whereas if she told me I can either go get help or I can leave, then she at least knows that she did everything that she could to try to help me. And again, you know, we've met many families who have found their loved ones passed away in their homes, and
they're never the same.
No, they won't ever be the same. And that's, again, this is a very tough thing to talk about.
But what you can do is present the person with options. So, you know, one of the things we always encourage people to do is start resource mapping, right? Yep. Reach out to people that you know of that are in recovery or people that work in the field of recovery and find out what is available to that person based on whatever their insurance is or lack of insurance or financial standing, whatever it may be. But there are lots of resources out there. So find out what that person's resource availability is. And then you can present that person with these options. Say, hey, number one, identify the problem. Number two, you know, explain how it's impacted that person's life. Lay that out for them. Number three, explain how it's impacted your life and why you can't continue that way. And number four, I always say present options.
Yep.
So say, hey, look, you know, you're using, let's just say, you know, cocaine every day and you're up all night and you spend all your money. And, you know, when you're high, you're hard to deal with and you're angry or whatever it may be, right? You're stealing from us. Here are some options for places that will help you stop using cocaine, right? And in a lot of places too, it's not just the cocaine. The cocaine is the symptom of the problem. It's not the problem. Yeah. There's something internal in us. So that's why it's so important for people to get help and get treatment. Abstinence or reducing use is awesome, but that's not going to fix what keeps people like us going back. Because
we found that out the hard way.
Well, you know, people, normies, as we would call them, people who don't suffer from substance use disorder can use a substance and not pick it up again for a couple months and not think about it. Or they have a negative experience where somebody in their life says, hey, when you do cocaine, you're an a-hole. And they're like, oh,
I'm not going to do cocaine. Or they get a DUI and they stop drinking.
Whereas we are like, well, I'm just going to do a little bit of cocaine and then nobody will know. And I'll wait till everybody goes to bed and then I'll do cocaine and then I'll sleep while everybody's awake. So then nobody knows I'm doing cocaine.
I won't drive drunk on that road again.
Right. I'll take a different road. I'll take Old 30 instead of US 30. You know, or I'll drink beer instead of vodka, you know? And so really presenting the person with options and saying, hey, look, here is what is available to you right now. And, you know, we always talk a lot about not enabling, but enabling, you know, it's not enabling to say, I will help you get connected to these resources.
Yeah.
It's important that they do it for themselves to a certain degree, but it's okay for you to pick up the phone and hand them the phone and say, hey, I'll do this with you while you explore what options are available to you.
Yep.
You know, and really that is the best way to kind of approach somebody. And again, if they're refusing to acknowledge that there's a problem, we know that the first step is admitting there's a problem to getting help, right?
Yep.
To getting it on the path to recovery. Everybody knew I was an alcoholic and an addict before I did. I was the last one to find out, right? Like I just thought this is how everybody drinks, this is how everybody does drugs, this is how everybody lives their life.
Time.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody's such a buzzkill all the time. You know, nobody knows how to party like I do. You know, I wish people could just take lessons from me on how to party. Well, you know, I mean, but locking yourself in your room and doing cocaine and drinking a fifth of vodka and shooting heroin, it, I guess, turned out not to be the definition of partying. It was self-destruction and, you know, like a slow death, sometimes actually quick, because I had multiple overdoses, poisonings, whatever you want to call them. But just laying out the facts for that person and trying to help them overcome that cognitive dissonance that they have. You know, our disease speaks to us in our own voice, so it's going to tell us that we're fine. We got it under control. And 99 times out of 100, when you present the person with the problem, you know, why you're concerned about them, how it's affecting them, how it's affecting you, and then options, they're going to say, okay, maybe there's a problem, but I can fix it on my own.
Yep.
I don't know many people that actually have been able to fix it on their own. You know, you're going to encounter a lot of resistance, you know, but these are steps you can take to try to help somebody that doesn't think there's a problem. Ultimately, at the end of the day, even God doesn't mess with free will. You cannot make someone admit that they have a problem if they don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
They may know it deep down, right? All you can do is swing for the fences and do your best. And their reaction, their response, the only thing we have control over is our own action, our own attitudes, is 110% up to them. Now, what do you do next? If the person says, screw you, I don't have a problem, you're overreacting. I mean, that's when we tell people you have to have boundaries.
Yep.
For me, it's okay. People feel bad. They're like, I feel like I'm being selfish if I say that I can't have them live here because it's too hard on me and my mental health. Like, I know parents or spouses or grandparents or siblings of people who have struggled with substance use disorder who have ended up needing mental health treatment because they continue, or they end up in the hospital because they have a stroke. Yep. Or a heart attack, or they get mono because they don't sleep and they keep going, right? Like, you can't continue to take care of somebody who's just destroying themselves, because then you're enabling them, and it's bad for you. I don't want people to feel bad. Like, I kicked Jimmy out because Jimmy wouldn't stop drinking. When Jimmy drinks, he punches holes in the walls and he pees in the corner and, you know, yells at the kids. That's okay for you to do it for you, you know, because Jimmy's got to he's got to get healthy for him.
Yep.
Just the way you got to get healthy for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, perfect example. As you know, my mom has multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And for years, her physical health and her mental health took a back seat because she was so worried about me all the time.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you could see that deterioration over time. And, you know, thank God that she eventually got to the point where she realized what was going on. And somebody finally told her that she was loving me to death, which is, I think, a great term. You know, it's simple, but it's very real. You know, she was loving me to death. She was giving me a place to live. Yeah. And herself. Simply giving me a place to live, not giving me any money. She figured out a long time ago she couldn't give me money because she wasn't going to give me the $20 that bought the bag of heroin that killed me. But
what about gift cards? Did that work?
No, because I mean, I could sell a gift card.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, anything like that.
So giving you anything of value was not really
putting gas in my car was enabling me, because then if I did somehow scrounge together 10 or 20 bucks, then I don't need to spend 5 of it in my gas tank to get to wherever I need to go. So anything like that. But even, you know, giving me a place to live, that made it just a little bit easier for me to keep living the way that I was living, because I always had somewhere to go back home that I felt safe and that I felt comfortable. And that was part of the problem, is that I was comfortable there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it definitely saved my life when she did set those boundaries and stick to them. And my dad was done way before my mom was. He would have, he would have kicked me out way before she did. But finally got to the point after they realized, you know, how much money I had stolen from them and everything else. I mean, there was a time, my 3-year-old niece at the time found an empty bag of heroin in my closet. And thank God it was empty, but there was like a bunch of my family was over at my house and I wasn't there, luckily, because my dad and my grandpa and my brother were there, and all 3 of them probably would have kicked my ass had I been there.
Right.
But she walked out into the living room with it in her hand. And at that point, that was a real turning point. They were like, all right, you cannot be here anymore. And I wasn't allowed at my brother's house for a long time. And it was told, you know, if you show back up here, we're going to call the police. And, you know, that stuff at the time, I was so mad, but it really did save my life. And I'm a firm believer now that if you've got someone in your life who's struggling with substance use disorder and they're mad at you, it's probably because you're trying to help them. And if they're happy with you, it's because you're enabling them.
Well, and this doesn't mean that you have to be mean to the person. You don't have to degrade them. You know, like, your family still loved you very much.
Yeah,
they would tell you that, right? I mean, but they also had boundaries. And it sounds like they also had found resources, places for you to go. You just said, I don't want to go there, right?
Yep. Absolutely. I was always presented with, like I said earlier, every time, because I'd go to treatment and I'd come back home because I'd get kicked out. I'd be homeless for a little bit. That gets real old real fast, especially in the winter time.
On a park bench, yeah.
It gets real old. Everyone, especially a lot of the families that we deal with, if they've got a young son at home, he thinks he's going to be fine out on the street.
Of course,
until he's out on the street for a couple nights or even one night. So I'd come back. I'd be like, okay, I'll go to treatment now. And at that point, that was basically all my family would do was take me to treatment. And that was enough. That was all they needed. That was all they should have done.
Right.
So I'd go, and then I'd go to treatment, and they would be okay with me coming right back home,
But
which didn't ever work out.
And why not?
Why didn't it work out?
Yeah.
I mean, you can take I always thought that that I just needed to go get through detox.
Right.
Heroin was
Get
my
out of your
thing.
system.
If I can get through the detox, then I'm going to be fine. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to get a job. I need to be around my family.
Right.
That was what I
They're
always
going to hold you
thought.
accountable, right?
Exactly.
They're going to be your sponsor. They're going to be your sober living managers.
Like we said, that's not their job. That's not their place in my life. It is. So I'd go back home. And I mean, there was times it worked for 1 month. There was times it worked for 2 days.
Right.
But eventually, sooner or later, I'd hang out with somebody that I used to hang out with or whatever it was, even just getting that thought in my head on my own. Cause I'm sober for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not enough for me or most people. So inevitably I would relapse, and then my family would find out, and I'd be given the option again. You can either go back to treatment or you can leave again.
Yeah.
And I chose to leave every single time.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people just want to go back home, and they're like, well, I want to get started with life again. And the problem with that is, so I would get high in my room. I would drink in my room. I would get high all over my house, my parents' house. So every time I went back there, I was faced with those same places that would trigger me, that I had those memories where that euphoric recall would come back. Sometimes it's just good to have a fresh start, and it's not necessarily a reflection on you as a loved one. Not that you're not a good support for them, but maybe the place you live and maybe the familiarity is not good. You need somebody who their only job, their only interest is to help that person recover.
Well, and like I said, I was so comfortable at home.
Yeah, right.
And that was kind of a double-edged sword, because like you just said, I remember one time very vividly, like I remember this like it was yesterday. I went to treatment down in Indianapolis, and I came back home to a house that my parents had recently moved into. I probably lived there for 2 months before I got kicked out.
Right.
All I had ever done in that house was got high or sat in my bed dope sick, withdrawing from heroin. That was it. I was either high there or I was sick there. I had no other memories there. And walking in that front door, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And our brain is a very powerful organ. I immediately started feeling like I was withdrawing from heroin, even though I hadn't used it for 4 or 5 weeks.
Right.
So, it's either you go back there and you're so comfortable there, or you go back there and, like you just said, that euphoric recall kicks in. And
phenomena of craving. It's fight or flight. You kick in, your adrenaline glands kick in, and
I mean, I think it was important for me to get out of my comfort zone. And, this last time when I went to treatment, and I have actually stayed sober since then, I stayed down in Indianapolis for about 2 years. And that's not to say that changing your, geographic location is going to equal recovery, because we know that's not the case, because we take ourselves with us everywhere we go. But for me, it was good for me to get out of the tiny little town that I lived in, where everybody knew who I was and everybody knew what I was and what I was doing all the time. And I didn't have a lot of, other than my immediate family, did not have a lot of positive influence in that town. So for me, staying down in Indianapolis, it's not what I wanted to do, but I was at the point where I was actually ready to listen and take recommendations. I was like, I'm not making any more decisions for myself, because every time I do that, it does not work out. So I stayed down there for, 2 years before I finally felt comfortable enough to come back up here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen for a lot of people, it can be very helpful to change locations. But here's the thing. If you change locations, but you don't change your behavior, you're going to get the same result, right? So if I go to a different city, I can get a fresh start. But if I do the same crap that I did in the last city, it's not going to be a fresh start. It's just going to be a restart of all the crap I just went through. So changing your people, places, and things is a big deal.
Yep.
And I know, again, this is about people being resistant to get help, but people are going to be resistant to change their people, places, and things. However, it is, they told us the only thing you have to do when you get sober is change everything, right? So a lot of times that means changing your friends, changing the place you live, changing the things you do. which is hard for a lot of people. People like us don't like change. We like to be comfortable. We like our routines. We like to sit in a dirty diaper. It's a dirty diaper, but it's warm and it's mine, right? So that's what we do, and we have to get outside of that, right? So, and nobody can do that for us, but us. So we get somewhere. It's good for us to have a fresh start.